like take up the space of great writing. And I think with my writing, I want to tell stories. I want to put other people on, like not people that you've already heard or read 10 articles about, because like half the stuff that is reported now or even like posted online is not even really news, because it's the same 5 to 10 people we talk about. Like how many times have we talked about Kanye West within the past 10 years? Like all the time, and it's like his stuff isn't even like relevant. Like who cares if he's getting divorced by Kim Kardashian? That's not really relevant. I mean, relevant to some, but like not really relevant in the lexicon of it being
That
national.
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't matter to our daily lives at all.
But someone's getting paid for that. You know, like
Hmm.
if I worked at BuzzFeed, I'd be getting banked, because BuzzFeed is basically like if Teen Vogue and Cosmopolitan like somehow mashed together into a smorgasbord of like something for young adults. Like
And it used
people
to be
like,
better.
yeah, like sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just commenting. You got it.
Yeah, like I mean, a lot of white writers get by on writing like stuff like that, or stuff that's already like been a part of our lexicon for years. Meanwhile, a lot of black artists are actually creating original great content, and like where you don't even like see or really hear them. So for me, I kind of sacrifice that sense of security, especially being an African, the son of African immigrants. I sacrificed that sense of like security, like through going and like into like STEM, health, and all that, and trying to pave a new way for people like me, for people who not only look like me, but people who are in those situations of where they want to have their passions make the income for them. And I don't know if I'm doing a great job. I really don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I'm just living. So
I really feel you in terms of what you mentioned about just like trying to make sure that you were getting paid and just putting money in your pocket, because writing is work. Like it's really hard work, and there's not as much appreciation in the industry as much as it should be. And I'm
yeah.
saying that as somebody who's like, I enjoy writing, but it's like I have a blog, right? And
Mm.
I can't even put as much energy into the blog as like I wish that I could, because I know that it's like I have to balance off the trade off of how much I'm putting into my writing and the amount of research and the amount of revisions and everything that it takes to actually write like a really good piece of content, and then the payoff of that. So it's difficult. And I'm glad that it's something that you're passionate enough about, that you're trying to find ways around it. This is a lot.
Yeah, and like to go back to what you were to actually piggyback off what you were just saying, um like I like to take my time because I want to give someone the best quality work. I don't want to just like half-ass it, and then the person who I'm giving it to in terms of like clientele is like pissed off. Especially with music journalism, it's like if actually tried to have I actually had my own blog for a little bit. I tried that whole thing, but I found that was going to be very difficult, because now that I'm establishing myself as a independent entity, it was more of me having to now like navigate those waters in the sense of like making sure I'm paid for the work that I do for artists, or whether it's bios, or little blurbs or reviews for their content, and like going about like the workload itself, and giving myself deadlines. I don't want to operate in which I'm making myself more robotic just to please somebody.
That's
So at
nice.
least like with the content I have now, it's like okay, it's something I like. I'm posting at my own time, and I can put it out in the world, and I don't have to really care about it. Someone else may read it, and they may feel like it's really nice. I had someone from friggin' Indonesia. I think they're in Portugal right now. Yeah, I had someone from Indonesia hit me up and tell me like how my article on the marginalization of public spheres, how that article like was really amazing for them, and we actually connected off of politics and started talking. So I didn't know like this person actually was even reading or paying attention to my work. And I found out that their sister actually went to UMBC. So I'm like, not now, but I think they had gone like a couple of years ago. But I'm just like, I never know who's really reading, but I'm appreciative of people who are just paying attention, even like to my music, to go further into it because like when I first started in high school, that was like I started in 2012. It's like about in November of this year, it'd be like about like 9 years. So it's been a long time. Mostly, I've been doing a lot of writing. Um, when I first started, I wasn't necessarily like on stage all the time rapping or whatever. But yeah, I was a young insecure kid. So like even just trying this, I really just wrote to a Big Sean type beat in my dining room on a Friday. I was home by myself, so I was writing, and then I saw like that I was pretty good or whatever. So I was like, oh, I definitely want to do this full time. So then I got into like writing writing with more type beats and basically getting into like Earl and Odd Future.
Sam and I were just talking about Earl. It was funny.
Oh, what
Yeah.
about?
No, you just. Oh no, we were just. I just mentioned how we were talking about it. We were just rapping about him, like before Masongo came on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like he's one of my favorite artists ever, and like just trying to
Yeah.
get into because like my writing before, and this goes into like the lyric breakdown we'll be doing for Garden of Gethsemane. So like my writing before was very
Masongo, before you get too deep in, right?
yeah.
Real quick, I hate to cut you off, but I don't want us to dominate the conversation. I love talking to you because like I said, it's like the amount of passion that you have for this is just like it's contagious, and like I love people who I can learn from. So I definitely want to stay in touch with you. Can you drop your number in the chat, and we can just talk one-on-one more after the meeting?
Yes, I can do that.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm gonna start the introductions. So, Sam, also known as Sam the Seuss.
Zion or Zionoline on the socials.
I am Yao, also known as EXO.
We got our special co-host.
My name is Daniel. Oh, yeah, my name is Daniel. I'm not on social media, but I'll give my number out to anybody who wants it, who doesn't already. Everybody in the chat has it, except for Masongo, and I'll text you right now.
All right. So, before we dive in and interview you on Masongo, I kind of wanted to like talk about some stuff that happened this week in music. I know Juice WRLD and Young Thug dropped a song. I think it was Bad Blood.
Yeah.
That was it was dope, pretty good.
I haven't heard it yet.
You ever heard it?
Nah, not yet. But from the snippet I heard, it actually, I thought it was actually pretty good, and I'm not really like a huge fan of Young Thug, so I was like, oh, I'll
Yeah.
Or,
I feel like it's cool to like know that even though like when artists die, like you still have this whole catalog of work to like listen to with like the posthumous like releases and stuff like that. So
yeah. No, I think that's really important as far as like you said, leaving a legacy, like your art transcends your time here on earth.
yeah, definitely. The visual was definitely dope. Cole Bennett did his thing.
I think it's interesting, kind of like think about kind of like the different perspectives of like the ethics and like post music recordings. Like some people were saying that like when XXXTentacion died, and even when Juice WRLD died, it was like their labels were trying to like squeeze their deaths for profit. But like when Mac Miller died, you didn't really have those same.
It was like it seemed more genuine and stuff like that.
So what makes like what makes it what makes a respectful posthumous album drop, and what makes a respectful way to honor an artist after they die versus like how not to do it? Like, what is your guys' thoughts on that?
I guess I'll go first since I'm an artist. I think it just varies from person to person because you think about like Mac, you think about Nipsey, MF Doom, Pop Smoke, and a bunch of other names of people that King Von. A lot of people have passed over the past few years. That's crazy. But when you really think about some of those people, it's like it's not really what they were bringing to the table as artists, but what their impact was in terms of their footprint on our hearts, our minds, the way we carry ourselves as humans. I think that's different from simply like someone like Amy Winehouse, where she did leave an impact, but the people around her were just greedy people who wanted to make money and simply profit off of that impact. Like I think like you look at like Mac Miller's family and the way they rolled out Circles, like it was very genuine, very heartfelt. There wasn't a label thing behind it. It was just like, hey, because you guys are fans and you guys loved our kid, we want to give you something. We want to give you a gift that he left behind, in a sense of like you always have that feeling every time you listen to it. You like remember the person, you keep their essence alive. And I think with a lot of folks, we don't really get that because like you think about like half the rappers who are killed, most of them died like gun violence or drug induced deaths or any type of gruesome death that you can possibly think of. It's never necessarily like mental health. Well, I think some of them may be mental health, but we'd have to do research on that. It's never really peaceful. So I think like looking back, it's the same things that we glorify are the same things that kill us. And at the end of the day, they may have been trying to move towards like bettering themselves in some way, shape, or form. And I feel like that's what people like Mac, Doom, Michael Jackson, Prince, and anyone else that you can possibly think of, Whitney, that I think that's what they're leaving behind. Like the fact that they were growing as people. They weren't perfect by any means, but they were attempting to just evolve into the best version of themselves. I think that's like completely different when it comes when it varies from artist to artist. But I think that's what really pushes people to invest after you die, pretty much.
Yeah, I think that you said it best, honestly. I feel like it has to be handled delicately, like with like all parties, not just like the label, like the family. You have to honor the family and just the fans. Like anybody can put out like a catalog of like music. Well not anybody, but like it has to match the legacy that they've built and like the music and honor the music. So it can't just be like a repackaging. But yeah,
I like how you said it, Sam, but it can't just be like a repackaging, but it has to have some weight behind it.
yeah,
It's definitely
Yeah.
true.
I think intention is probably the most important, right? Like Masongo said, if you're putting it out because you want to share their art that they made for their fans versus we want to turn a profit because we know people will pay for it, stream it, whatever. I mean, it's easy to, throw a whole bunch of big name features on a whole bunch of unreleased tracks and turn profit. But like with Max Family, they handle that amazingly. So yeah, I think that's the best thing.
Yeah, I think it all depends on how it's handled between the family and the label, right? And intention, like Zion said, it's like because it can easily go the wrong direction of your intention. So you have to be very careful with a release like that. Of course, fans want to hear their favorite artist, right? But it's also like how it's done is, sort of I think where the problem lies. Sometimes like Max, it felt like a patient rollout, and it felt like it was really well thought out and planned and all that. I don't really, I'm not familiar with Juice WRLD's rollout, posthumous rollout, other than this track, which I haven't heard it yet either. But I know with with Pops, I was a little like conflicted because it felt like although it was well intentioned, I know 50 went around and like was like, hey, hop on this track.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
Pop Smoke and all that. And part of that sometimes too, like I think it was well executed.
Yeah,
But it could have gone left really quick.
it could have definitely.
So yeah, again, it's just you have to be very tactful in doing that because it's someone's family member that passed away, and it's end of the day they're human before they're a musician or artist, so you have to respect that.
Definitely.
When you say it could have gone left, what do you mean? Why would it have gone left?
Oh, I mean, it could have been what people were saying. What you brought up for Juice WRLD, like people would have interpreted it as because 50 is invested in Pop Smoke or was invested in his career, they were just trying to profit off of Pop Smoke,
Right.
But yeah, I didn't perceive it that way, and maybe there's some people that did, but I just think you have to, when you're doing posthumous works for any kind of art, you have to. It's a delicate thing, just because it's someone that passed away again. So
yeah. Definitely, it's a touchy thing. Something else I think that happened is like I know YFN Lucci was like I guess accused of murder. So how do you guys feel about like rappers kind of still being caught up in like street life once they've made it? Like
I think it's unnecessary. I feel like even if you did live that life, like there should be a point where you want better.
Yeah.
Right? So if and I get it, it's not always your fault, or you're not always in control of certain aspects of your life, but certain things, it's just like you can avoid that, like rappers getting gun charges and murder charges and all. You can avoid a lot of that. Like you can hire a bodyguard. You can you don't have to necessarily carry a firearm on you, right? But it's all, sometimes it feels like it's just part of the bravado and the image that you're trying to keep up with as well. Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I'm trying to be cautious with my words because it's like, I'm not from the hood or anything like that. I've lived in the suburbs like my entire life. So I have no baseline for like what that type of lifestyle is like. I have no idea what that transition must feel like for somebody who's lived that life. And like, I don't know the nuances of that type of situation. I feel like for rappers and media personalities who like get caught up in street stuff by the time that they have a public persona, I feel like it's more the responsibility of their management and the people who are around them and the people who are more familiar with that space to kind of help them as much as they can. I'm trying to think of examples. I don't know if I think necessarily have a lot of examples on my head right now, but I'm saying that just to say that it's like, I feel like for anybody who transitions from one place of their life to another place, that is like a hugely like that's a massive transition.
Yeah,
you're gonna bring over some bad habits. You don't have to be like
some vices, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
So I think it's just like a natural thing, but it's just kind of like those are the vices that they're bringing over from whatever they were engaged in before they became famous or blew up or whatever. But if you have a strong team around you, then that should be able to kind of mitigate some of the damage. So I feel like it's the responsibility of the people around them who should know better and how to kind of coach them who might not be doing their jobs right.
Yeah.
See, a lot of the times, I think, sorry.
No, you go, bro.
Okay, so I feel like a lot of the times, the problem with that is also like you bring over the people that you knew, right?
Yeah.
So your circle is
Definitely.
and
Mhm.
and if you're not the type of person that you're like, all right, we were here, we're trying to get here, we need to do this X, Y, and Z in order to get here, right? Then you can still be drawn back into that lifestyle because your circle is your circle, right? So it's kind of like the responsibility does still end up with that artist or that person, right? Because you're the one that's in control of who's around you.
I think it's interesting though, because sometimes it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
rappers and fashion designers who have gone to jail and been better and like blew up
In
by the
jail,
time that they came
yeah.
back. Literally.
Like it
Like
talking.
literally. Ian Connor, what's it called? Ian
Yeah.
Connor built Sicko worldwide, literally while he was in jail, and then after he got out of jail, and like his
Gucci
face
Mane
started popping
also.
up more.
Gucci Mane also.
Gucci, yeah.
I think it depends. Yeah, I think it depends on the person, but also like people. I feel like also people get caught in like I want to bring like my homies, I've grown up with me. Like I don't want to leave anybody behind. It's that mentality, but it depends on the person. Yeah.
I mean, that's I'm not bashing that philosophy. It's not a bad philosophy. It's a good
Right.
philosophy to have. But you also have to, y'all have to have the same mindset. That's part of it. Like you can't. Actually, Dan and I were talking about this the other day. It's like that Kanye concept, right? Like if you have all yes men around you telling you, "All right, yeah, that's good, what you're doing is good," but in actuality, what you're doing is, the very opposite of what's good for you or beneficial to the team, then you're gonna get pulled back into things that you have no business being in, right?
High key. I
See
think.
that? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What was the example you're about to bring up?
I was gonna say you see that across different platforms, whether it's music or fashion or sports, like
Sports,
Antonio Brown,
big
for
history of
example, right?
sports.
Yeah, it's like
Aaron Hernandez, like
exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's you gotta, and that's why I think a lot of people credit LeBron because it's like he kept those same people that were with him when he started, but it's like they all had that same mindset. Like, okay, this is where we're trying to go. What do we have to do to get where we're trying to go, right? And through that, they kept that same relationship and built other relationships, and now they have one of the biggest empires in the world. So it's balanced, but yeah.
I feel like it's kind of something where it's like if there's younger artists or people who are like starting to build their empire now, I think it's kind of important to kind of recognize how important it is to distance yourself from people who don't share your vision as quickly as possible. Because it's uncomfortable to do that. It's difficult. But it's like you have to think long term. And if you're looking at the long game, and it's like you want to make sure that you're going into the game with the best stats, I guess, as possible. If you're looking at it as like a video game.
Yeah,
best
it's like, I don't know if y'all watch Power.
Yeah, I just finished watching it. I just finished book 2. Like, right, that's my
same. I'm all caught up.
I haven't started book 2. Book 2, but book 1, like that's what Ghost was going through.
Yeah,
right? You have your wife, you have your best friend that you grew up with. They're both telling
side
you,
chick, like,
but your side chick is the one that's telling you, yo. Well, she didn't even know at first.
She didn't know.
Yeah, but
Angela.
like you gotta surround yourself with people with like-minded mindsets, and sometimes you have those homeboys where they share that vision. They're like, what we did was cool, but like we need to do better.
Yeah.
And then sometimes
I kind of felt like Tommy. Not to cut you off, my bad. I felt like Tommy was his weak. Was like the one holding him back. Like like he wanted to get out him, Tommy and Tasha. Like
Tommy and Tasha were both like, nah, this is it. We've been doing this. This is good.
This is the lifestyle and money.
It goes over here trying to do his club and shit. The club is popping.
It's legit.
They're not with it. So
I think that brings up like the good topic of I mean, it's like you don't necessarily have to leave your homies behind, but I feel like
No.
you can separate it, you know, like you can have friends who you go get money with and like, you know, who have a vision. Those are the people you spend most of your time with. But you can still have people who are just like, you know, you check up on them, check on their families, you might go
Right.
to the club, you might party with them. But when it comes to
Yeah.
like your future, your career, that might need to be separate. And I think a lot of
Definitely.
artists don't get that, don't have that
Separate.
mindset.
Yeah, separate and having like boundaries for those
Yeah,
friendships.
yeah.
Right. And actually, Snoop talked about that in an interview where he was like, you know, he got to a certain point in his career when he really started to blow up, and he was like, all right, yeah, like I have to change my mindset because the people that I was with, like, they're cool. Those are my boys. That's my family. But it's like, you know, they don't have that same drive. Like some of them don't have that same drive. So it's like, or that same mindset. Not even the same drive, but the same mindset of, all right, we can't be in the streets like that. Like we need to go and get this money, legitly, you know. So he had to like distance himself from those kinds of characters. But it's not like you forget about them either. Like you still check on them, you still make sure that they're good. But you can't, you can't be in the trap house with them, for example. Like y'all could go kick it somewhere else, but you can't be in the trap house because the trap house gets raided. All y'all going down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, no matter
it's
how
like,
many records you sold and like you still caught up. Yeah.
exactly. So you just gotta pick and choose your spots sometimes.
Definitely.
Did you want me to chime in on that, or
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
go ahead.
if I had to be honest, I think a lot of rappers, because of the lifestyle that they live and like you think about the traumas that they've endured, it's not just as easy as someone telling you like, hey, you deserve better, like you should do this instead. Because I feel like a lot of people don't have those epiphanies until they get into an intense situation where it's like, when you're watching a movie and it hits a certain like point where it doesn't necessarily reach the third act, but in the second act of the movie, they go through some sort of situation or crisis that has them alter their mindsets, towards a larger or more ambitious goal, whatever that may be. And I think having that traumatic event is very impactful towards them, like, realizing like, okay, what do I need to do to get out of this? And like, how do I surround myself with better people, like you guys are saying? I think part of the faults too are the teams in the industry, because like no one wants a team full of yes men. Like I wouldn't want, if I sent you guys a song right now, I wouldn't want you guys to just say it's good for the sake
Some
of it.
people do. I think that's the thing. Some people
Yeah.
some people do want a team with yes men.
Definitely.
I mean, for some people, like you look at people who are most streamed and stuff right now, like it kind of makes sense because they're just trying to figure out how to make money to recoup for the label, but it's also the label's fault because like music industry invests in like private prisons and stuff. So like when you really think about it, I didn't know this actually. I did my own research and then found out that like this is something that they don't even include in the contract, So I'm just like, it's actually kind of ironic, not really ironic, but it's more of an intentional because usually when someone goes to jail, their profile either skyrockets, plummets. You think about the certain people who go to jail, like you were saying, like Ian. I don't like Ian Connor, but like basically someone like him or Extentacion, like they pretty much got their profiles up through being in jail, whereas someone like Kodak Black, it's like he's still regarded by people, but it's also like no one's really checking for him or thinking about him right now.
He's
And,
still releasing albums in jail. But...
yeah, I think just to recoup for the label, because it's like at the end of the day you have to pay the label back.
Right.
What else?
I mean, so. Oh, sorry. You were on?
No, I was gonna like say like I think also when it comes down to artists, like a lot of people are just stupid. I'm sorry to say that, but like It's just like, no, like if you have all that access to get yourself out of the lifestyle for good, and you have all this apparent money, then why aren't you actually trying to not only better yourself but better your communities? The same communities that you rap about, the same communities that you like, that you claim you're never gonna leave. Why don't you actually try to implement some positive, some actual lawful good? Because you can't necessarily blame the system when it's like you're the one who's making the choice, the decision to do so. And it's just like, at the end of the day, you're accountable for yourself. No one else is accountable for you. And like you look at some of the stuff that rappers do, especially when it comes to finances, it's like you could easily put some of that money away for your kids and still have over to even like just get albums done and still recoup. So, at the end of the day, it's like, how are you going to glorify the same things that kill us? I understand that's part of the industry gimmick, but it's just like, what's the point of all that when you probably regret it? Like if you go on Vlad TV, you're probably gonna talk about it and be like, I really regret saying this, that, the third, or doing this, that, and the third. Like it's the way like Future felt regret when Juice WRLD told him like, yeah, I started drinking at like 14, and it's just like, okay, so Future stopped taking lean, he stopped, talking about it, I guess in the music, but I'm also like, but why aren't you just trying to like promote that we transition away from like drugs and the idea of obtaining finances or ownership through illegal methods. Like if you really want to go further into it, it's like the same way with homophobia. Like half of the favorite rappers now dressing like hippies and stuff, and no one bats an eye. But because of hip hop stance in terms of masculinity, people are just like, I have to embrace that, and it's like you don't though. It's the same way like with Young Thug, with the way he used to dress when he first came on the scene, or the way he used to talk and stuff. It was regarded as gay, but then people like were just like I'm still kind of bumping whatever. But then now that he's embracing more masculine side, like no one really bats an eye, but it's like he was doing the same thing Andre 3000 was doing, the same thing Kanye West was doing, the same thing a lot of these people do. And just like I think with the way the industry of media and beyond, the way our lives are progressing to a more progressive and inclusive state, we should be more wary of like, okay, let's just say these things to just say them and not mean them, and actually promote better outside of that. Because the same reason why like rap lyrics now are actually used to indict people now, like especially in Maryland, like that's a law now, and it's just like um, I read an article yesterday from a British rapper. I think his name was Deli D or something. He basically has to like tell the FBI or the police or whatever, like he has to show them the lyrics, and if they have to approve everything that he puts out, because he'll just go to jail. And he got in trouble. I forgot what he got in trouble for. I think it was like lick or something. But yeah, like the fact that he has to show the police his work in order to get it out, like that's changing everything now. And it's just like that's what a lot of these rappers like T.I. might end up doing that in a couple of years. You never know. Like Wayne, I think Wayne just got back in jail, or he's in something. But it's just like, at this point, like why have we, I guess to kind of segue into a larger conversation, like why haven't we transitioned towards a better version of hip hop where, we're not just dumping on each other and like trying to just take money from each other. Because it's like I wrote this bar yesterday because I was actually starting to write for my next project. It's the same. It goes like the same niggas who are capitalizing have their chains on at midnight. So when you think about it, it's like the same people like Nipsey, Ho, Diddy, Beyonce, Rihanna, so and so. Like these same people are telling you to take ownership, do all this stuff, which is good, which isn't a bad message, But then people are usually wary now of like who's saying the message and whether they like them or not, because that goes into like how they receive it. But it's like some of those same people have their chains on. They're not necessarily free. if you want to get deep, like in the music industry, like most people aren't that free, but in general, it's like, how are you going to take advice from the same people who are trying to do what the masters are doing, So,
I mean, so I think to partly answer your question, I feel like it's us as fans sometimes too, because we like ratchet music. Like I like ratchet music. Every now and then you gotta have a ratchet track. Because I mean, I love J. Cole, but it's just some J. Cole songs you can't play in the club like that. Like,
facts for sure.
it's just it is what it is. So it's like, but I get what you mean. Like we have to get to a point where, we can have our ratchet music or our club anthems without also feeding back into that lifestyle. Right?
Yeah, because like if you think about it, like the club anthem, action music, it's not bad at all actually, but it's just the fact that like the artists themselves and whoever they're signed to, or like the entire industry, is just more so like the way that it's advertised. It's like it's become part of pop culture. It's actually no, it's extended towards universal cultural lexicon, and excuse me, and like with the same things that we say in those songs and stuff, it's like, like Megan Thee Stallion, she is like, I guess, the face of Black women empowerment in hip hop right now, especially after the whole Tory thing. And it's like with her, she carries that baton. She's doing a good job of like, making sure that Black women have a message at the end of the day to rely on and go back to, that's not pimped by a dollar sign or by some larger brand behind them. But again, it's also like, they may not believe in that stuff personally, because it's like, she signed to Rock Nation. Rock Nation did the whole deal with NFL. So it's like, okay, that deal wasn't even well received, because it's like, oh, it's not really benefiting us. But then like when you think about it, like this is, I guess, like her as a Black woman doing whatever she can in terms of the platform she has to like simply try to attempt to get out some message, some important message. And with that, it has its good and its bad side. Like I saw, it's funny because one of the most disgusting tweets I ever saw was someone saying that they wanted to trade Megan Thee Stallion's life for King Von's. Like they wanted King Von to come back. And I'm like, and this is a Black woman saying that. So I'm just like, I guess they're from Chicago, but I'm like, yo, hold on. A Black woman saying that she wants Megan Thee Stallion dead instead of King Von? Like, that's insane, And it's just like, if that can happen, then like, are we necessarily helping ourselves? Because kind of the epiphany I had with my music was like, kind of realizing like the entire like Black Lives Matter movement, or the way we regard ourselves as Black folks, is like we don't necessarily love each other or even appreciate each other as much as we think we do, in terms of how we spread that message through the media. And it just made me like think like, how is it that we're fighting next to each other, but then also fighting with each other outside of that, outside of these scenes and stuff? And it's like, that's what kind of pushed me to be more, I guess, against the grain with my project, because I kind of was just trying to dissect that for myself. And it just kind of goes back to everything we've been saying, because like some people don't want you to actually succeed. It's like the crabs in the barrel method, like I think that is still very existent within our musical societies today, especially like when you look at the geographical aspect, like in terms of cities, like people always say like, oh, Atlanta helps their own, Chicago helps their own, LA helps their own. You look at the DMV, people are like, oh, like nah, the DMV, like we don't care about each other, da da da. And it's like, it's actually easy if you actually just decide to reach out and actually bridge together the cultural gaps and actually just create. It doesn't have to be money or service based. It can just be for the love of the craft. And that's kind of what I did with this project. Because it's like the people I worked with, I didn't even know. They're not even like from here, outside of Yao, who engineered the tape. But you know, it ended up turning out to be a success, despite the odds. You know, and like I think overall it boils down back to like people and how you know they receive consumerism and how they operate. Because there's a lot of what's that saying with the bad apples? Bad apples make a
That apple spoils the bunch.
yeah.
Masongo, you like to talk. Jumped around from like 3, 4, 5 different topics. That's okay. It's cool.
Yo,
Go
ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, since like I know you're really passionate about like, you know, Black rights and stuff like that, and like what Black women, would you say, Masongo, that you're like a conscious rapper? Like the topics you talk about in your music?
Kind of hate that term, conscious rap, conscious rapper. It's so corny. I just regard myself as I would say I regard myself as an observational journalist of sorts. Just someone who is just seeing what's going on and just reporting it back to people of all ages, but also our people, because it's, you know, it's pretty coded language, I guess. I'm trying to make it more broad, but yeah, I think that's, I guess, you know, in terms of a generalized label, I guess I fall under that. I just don't regard myself as that, because that is just kind of corny and it puts me in a box. I don't
No, I
want
feel you. Yeah, definitely.
to put myself in a box.
You're passionate about your craft and your music. Yeah.
And if you wanna, if we're trying to keep it all the way, it's like when you say like conscious rapper, it's like that alienates you to a lot of people. Like y'all was saying, it's like sometimes people like to have fun. And it's not like you don't want to eat vegetables all the time. I don't think anybody wants to eat vegetables all the time. So it's like
But the irony of vegetables is that you need that to grow. Like people want the candy, and I respect that.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely. That's not what I'm saying though. I'm not saying that it's like you should eat candy.
right?
I'm saying it's like it's okay to have a donut like once a month.
Yeah. I mean, I think in our analyzations, there's always a certain level of pessimism and skepticism towards the subject, just because the other stuff is so much more prevalent. You know, like the club anthems are so much more prevalent than a Kendrick Lamar record, or not even a Kendrick Lamar record, but specifically it's like To Pimp a Butterfly. Like Damn received so much more praise. Good Kid, Mad City received so much more praise than To Pimp a Butterfly in some sense, right? So it's like we in our analyzation of it, we see it that way, but I think it is still prevalent. I mean, we still have these artists, you know, right up there with someone like Drake. Like, so I mean, I think that in some respect there is balance still.
Right.
Maybe we can use more of it. Maybe we can use some more veggies.
What I'm trying to say is that like I feel like when we lock in like, oh, conscious rap is this specific type of sound, like it makes rappers who don't have a specific type of producers, who don't sound like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, it makes them feel alienated. Like what I want to see a rapper who talks about living a healthy lifestyle but has a flow like Playboy Cardi. You get what I'm saying? Like I want to see like you were saying, like I want to see Megan Thee Stallion rap like conscious rap, because it's like it's just words. I feel like that's the cool thing about rap. It's like
it's just a label.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm
the
not saying the
connotation.
labels, I'm talking about like the actual sound of the music, like the production of it. Like just because like J. Cole and Kendrick have like a certain type of like style or flow that they use to storytell, like doesn't mean that like a rapper who has like a less wordy, less jazz inspired flow can't also make music that's refreshing and healthy to listen to.
Right.
So you want Megan Thee Stallion on Ninth Wonder beats?
No, I'm saying I want Megan Thee Stallion on Megan Thee Stallion beats talking about women empowerment. And I don't listen to her music, so she might already do that. But I'm saying I don't want people to think of like Megan Thee Stallion let me not even use real artists, but I'm saying I want artists to have their own style, but feel comfortable expressing whatever they want in their style. Just because, let me use Playboi Carti because I listen to Playboi Carti. Playboi Carti is my donut. When we talk about like I eat a donut once in a month, like I love Carti, but I have to listen to Earl more because I can't listen to Carti. You can't listen to Carti all the time. You know what I mean? But I would love a rapper that had Playboi Carti's style, but had like the same type of things that you listen for. When you listen to J. Cole, you're not listening to J. Cole for the same thing you listen to Playboi Carti for. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But I would love a rapper who had Playboi Carti's sound, but had J. Cole's message in it. You get what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say.
I have a question. What did you think of Whole Lotta Red as a Playboi Carti fan?
It's a mosh pit album. I'm not listening to Whole Lotta Red right now because that's not an album I would listen to in the car. I think Die Lit is an album you can listen to in the car. I think Whole Lotta Red is an album that like you punch somebody in the mouth in when you're at the mosh pit.
Nah, for real, honestly.
That's what I'm on. That's my type of time.
It would definitely be interesting to hear that sound that you're talking about, Dan.
Yeah.
I just imagine like my imagination is running wild right now, and not just imagine it was just like
I think that's the world that we're coming to though, because everything is cross-pollinating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely genres are being born like all the time. So
yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna happen. You know, it's gonna happen. But right now it just seems sort of like a foreign concept, I guess. But I think you have artists here and there that do that though. It's just not. Even J. Cole, like ATM is, ATM, swimming pools for Kendrick. Like swimming pools, a lot of people don't realize swimming pools, he's actually talking about resisting alcohol and resisting temptation and all these things that comes with it. Like it's not a glorification song of alcohol at all, but because of the beat, because of like the flow on it, it makes you, it feels like a club anthem.
Like that first verse, it like embarrass it,
like basically putting the candy in the vegetables.
Yeah. We're putting cheese on vegetables. Cheese on broccoli. I think we have a little bit of it already. It's just not as prevalent.
It's not.
Yeah. It's definitely out there though. If you look, you'll definitely find a whole bunch of genre bending, soulful, meaningful music. Yeah.
You gotta bring out a magnifying glass for real.
Bags.
But
I was gonna say I think like an important thing I missed from Masongo's first topic as far as like rappers especially, but all types of musicians still being drawn to certain lifestyles that aren't healthy. I think music is a unique media as far as like most of the time people are talking about their real lives. And I think labels and fans put pressure on musicians to like really live it, like we wouldn't expect Keanu Reeves to like go outside and start killing people because he's in John Wick or The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
But when we hear 50 Cent got shot in real life and then he raps about, oh, I got shot, then you expect, people like that to continue going back to those same things. So, I mean, it's an unhealthy relationship in general, but I think we've gotten better, definitely better than we were.
That brings up an interesting double standard, kind of like between how white celebrities, or let's say like, white celebrities and celebrities of colors are kind of viewed like in the media. Because it's like any celebrity of color, in my perspective, it looks like to a lot of their fans, they're viewed more as a caricature than they are as like a real actual person. So it's like you were saying, it's like they're expected to kind of play the character that they're playing in the movie and lean way more into that than they are allowed to be like their authentic person and grow as like an authentic person. But it's not that. But that same standard isn't really held for white people. Like a lot of white celebrities, they're allowed to be like Jonah Hill is allowed to be Jonah Hill and evolve as Jonah Hill. But
exactly.
Not the same for a lot of other.
Nothing, especially for rappers and hip hop artists. It like Zion said, like if you're 50 Cent and you go from your first album, you're getting shot at, you got shot 9 times, and then your next album you're trying to make a love album. It's like your fans are like, nah, he switched up. But I mean, it's growth. You know, we expect people to grow, but we don't expect artists to grow in their lives sometimes. You know?
Right. And I think that's I mean that's always strange. I always find it weird when fans are like, oh, well, I guess I can understand to a certain extent. Like, oh, his new stuff is whack. I love his old stuff. Like, especially R&B singers, we see them, fans wish like for them to break up or like do drugs again.
Yeah. I was watching like the Joe Budden podcast, and they're interviewing Jasmine Sullivan, and Joe was like, I think Jasmine's like, she was talking about how she's in a relationship. He was like, "Are we gonna get any more heartbreak songs or whatever like that?" Yeah, we want heartbreak.
Yeah.
Jasmine, like, I'm just like, you know, she's like, I don't have to be heartbroken to write like those type of songs. I'm just like, yeah.
Exactly.
You're holding the artist to that.
Yeah, I do think we've gotten better though, just in terms of like, I mean, it's really a few years ago. I mean, like Tupac and Biggie, bro, they're like the biggest rap stars at the time are dying to gun violence. I think we've gotten away from that a little bit. Obviously not all the way, but we're getting better, I think.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like I felt like you remember that period where like it was like, all right, Drake's coming up, Kendrick's coming up, Cole's coming up. You know, it felt like we were shifting like really far away from that scene, at least in mainstream. And then the 2015s hit, and then it kind of felt like it was shifting back towards that a little bit, right? Because you had like people like 6ix9ine popping up. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of still in that, like, we're in that period, but for like, it's for a different sound of music. Like, I'm trying to think of people who like we might see in like 10 years and be like, whoa, this was the J. Cole, this was the Kendrick, this was the Drake or whatever. And I feel like that's for the younger generation to kind of understand and see that. Because I feel like for all of us here, it's like that period of time where it was like Drake, J. Cole, A$AP Rocky, Odd Future. That was our era. And I'm realizing now that it's like, this is how I know that I'm old, because it's like, I don't listen to YK Osiris. I don't listen to Saweetie. Like, I don't know.
No, I listen to Sweetie though.
Sweetie's been that Doja Cat record was kind of like,
Sweetie's tough.
She's improving.
Yeah, but I get what you mean. I kind of feel like where that to us is like when our parents talk about the golden era of music, like the 70s and the 60s and all that. I'm just like, dang. I feel y'all now.
That's like our goats, like the new goats for our generation. Like we'll tell our kids about Drake and Kendrick, Cole, all them.
What do you guys think about? I'm gonna throw this question out there. Who's A$AP Rocky versus Drake? Who's had more influence in the culture?
Who's had more influence in culture?
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
I think it has to be Drake.
Yeah.
I think it has to be Drake. Wow. Because Drake is his influence is far more reaching than A$AP's, I feel like.
In what way?
From music to the culture.
From music.
From singing to rap. He was one of the main guys that came out with the singing R&B, like that flow.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing that. Like, like when I was in high school, like you recognized it. Like, hold on, we're going home. Like that singing, that switching, like.
Yeah. Now, if we're talking like overall artistically, I feel like then it would probably be A$AP, because A$AP has fashion, music,
fashion, the videos, music
videos. You know, like
Not to say Drake don't got like fashion, but like A$AP. He's not touching A$AP though. ASAP low key, he's dating Rihanna. Like he's low key, like he's
I mean,
model, like modeling, designing stuff.
It's crazy. I was really listening to one of his songs came on the other day, like music video, and I saw her in the video, and I was like, dang, I forgot this happened.
Right.
Because she was the first person that he opened up for, like when he first started blowing up.
Yeah, I remember that.
You talk about Rocky or Drake?
Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky opened up for Rihanna.
I think the unapologetic era or whatever like that.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's crazy. It's like full circle. I'm just like, wow. My boy really bagged it.
He really bagged it.
Yeah.
I know Drake over there crying.
Oh yeah.
What I kind of judge them both by is kind of by their strength of their teams. You know what I mean? I feel like anybody in music is like, I feel like a good way to kind of test this, like, what's your character like, is looking by like the people who you bring up. And it's like people make jokes about OVO being a sweatshop. You know what I mean? And whole time,
definitely.
Like,
Definitely party next door.
Really bringing people up. Like Og is like, what's it called? ASAP Nast is like a mainstay in fashion now. They did a collaboration with what's it called? I forget the name of the label they did a collaboration with, but like they did like a big collab with like a significant fashion house. Like Og has extensions into Baltimore with what's it called? DJ
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name. It's crazy. I should remember his name.
Which one is that? Who? Oh yeah.
YG Addy, yeah. But it's like Og is like, I feel like Og has done so much more than OVO. And it's hard to see OVO as like a label as successful as Og. Like Og is so much beyond there, which is why personally I consider ASAP like such a more successful product than Drake. And I feel like his influence is kind of so beyond. I think that's because it's like, because of the fact that it goes into fashion and it goes into music and it goes into, there's probably other stuff too I'm not thinking about, but fashion and music are like the two things that you first think of when you think of ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I just think if you were to go to, I don't know, like if you go to Czech Republic or you go to, you know, Indonesia, someplace, like you ask them, yo, who is Drake? They're gonna know who Drake is. They might not know who ASAP is though.
That's true.
You know, like
I think the impact on music thing, as far as Drake did, I mean, I remember like if we, you know, go back in time a little bit, like 2008 or 9, I remember a lot of people being, because Drake was really like one of my first favorite rappers. And I remember people like, oh, like, dude, Drake's soft, like he's singing and talking about girls. And now, I mean, what do you see? Like that's cool now. Like everybody.
That's the new thing. That's the thing.
If you really think about it, ASAP Rocky can't make Hotline Bling, but Drake can make Brand New Guy though.
Yeah.
You have to think about it like that, because like they're both influential, but like Drake is basically like Michael Jackson at this point. You can't deny that. ASAP is more of like, ASAP influence is more local. It's more tapped in because people love a sense of local upbringing, define whatever the global stance is. I think that's an admirable story. But Drake is like the sun to ASAP's Mars, pretty much. You think about it like that.
Yeah, I think it's like ASAP has a lot of influence and reach, especially on the Northeast. But anywhere you go in the U.S., they know Drake, and he's not even from the U.S. Like,
I think it's definitely a thing of like, is bigger always better? You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of my headspace.
I mean, of course, they have like the whole, you know, culture vulture, ghostwriting allegations that come with any. I guess anytime you have a huge artist, you're gonna have a lot of controversy, which makes sense.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna flex. Drake has legitly taken.
Whole
songs.
Yeah, no,
whole
that's
songs.
facts.
Not even
That is facts.
whole songs.
Like, that's facts. It's been proven. That's facts.
Yeah, hold on, we're going home. I was listening to it one day with this girl.
With G
And-
Jordan. Ooh.
And
Oh.
she was like, "Is that Drake?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like yeah. She's like, "Yeah, no, I know this song, but it's from a different artist." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like they covered it or something?" And she was like, "Nah, like he took it from them." And she showed me the song. Sure enough, it was like from like a year or two before it even got released and all that. Like
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but it's like he told you nothing was gonna be the same. So like,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, the
feel like
old stuff
Drake
is
is
still
self-
undeniable.
It is.
yeah. I mean,
Marvin's room, like
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
still
take
the
care.
song.
Definitely.
honestly, I
Doing
even like it.
time. I mean, doing
Yeah.
wrong.
I really like pretty much all of his catalog. There's like a few stuff here and there. I didn't like Views when it first came out.
Same
I
here.
didn't. I didn't. There's a
But
couple
it's-
songs I like.
Yeah, but it's grown on me since. And then what's the other one? The playlist with Passion Fruit.
Oh, more life.
Or like,
Is that more life? Yeah.
yeah, that I didn't like. I still don't really like that one. There's a few songs here and there, but
Yeah.
other than that, like he has a solid catalog. And ASAP's last album to me, it just didn't do it for me.
I thought ASAP's last album was his best album yet. I
I
love
thought it was good.
Testing,
Really?
Yeah,
testing.
I love Testing. Testing was
There are a
great.
couple songs, you know. I praise
Really?
the Lord.
I like
Yeah.
some songs. on it.
Purity.
I get into
Wow,
it
you
at
like
all, and I was so hyped to listen to it. I was so hyped to listen to it. And I was so disappointed. in it. Yeah.
Wait, who did? Wait, because I'm still. So me, yeah, I know you didn't like it. Sam,
Yeah.
Masongo, and Zion.
Mhm.
What did you guys think of Testing?
I mean, I'm a huge Rocky fan as well, so it was a little bit of a letdown just based on what I was expecting. But there's definitely like I like half the album. Is
Yeah,
fire.
I say
At least.
it was. I don't think it was a bad album. I remember listening to it that year.
Yeah, I would give it like normal, like a C level.
I feel like the rollout. I feel like I remember the rollout being different though than like his other albums though. So
Yeah.
Okay, so Testing compared to what's the album before that?
I think it's At
Allah?
Long Last, maybe.
Is it
Long Last.
ASAP Forever?
Long Live
ASAP.
Testing versus.
Oh yeah, no, his old work is much better.
It was like Allah was here, and then Testing was just it didn't even register to me. I was just Like,
The only thing I like about Testing is the song Frank Ocean and Lauryn Hill. That's it.
Purity.
oh, he got a song with Frank Ocean and Lauryn Hill on there.
Yeah.
I think
might have
it's
to
Purity, maybe.
I might have to listen to it.
Purity was with Frank Ocean. Yeah.
FKA Twigs, that song, his song with FKA Twigs is cool too. I think it's called F Sleep or something like that.
So this is the thing, right? This is the thing. So I think Testing is going to be ASAP Rocky's Magna Carta Holy Grail. So y'all remember when Jay-Z dropped Magna Carta?
Yeah.
Holy Grail, right?
And people didn't like that, but I love Magna Carta.
People
Magna
did
Carta was
not
a good
like
one.
it because it sounded so
I remember
different
people
from-
hated it.
I didn't get into 444. That was what like I didn't get into.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
Check it out.
There
Check it
are
out.
like
Check this out. Now, if you listen to Magna Carta Holy Grail, it holds up because it's like Jay-Z was hopping on like the whole SoundCloud wave of verses
Yeah.
going shorter,
Fuck
making your
with me,
points
you
quicker.
know I got it. Yo.
Like, nobody's trying to hear that old like New
Tom
York
Ford.
rap anymore. So he's trying to
Yeah.
transition to the future. And I think in like 10 years, you're gonna understand that Testing was like, this is the sound of the future. And it's like people just gotta kind of catch up. I don't know. My
Okay. I'll give it another listen because I haven't listened to it since. But yeah, it was just the drop off for me. It just felt like I was expecting. I feel like I was expecting something different because I felt like there was Long Live ASAP, then Long Live ASAP.
Long Live
No,
ASAP,
Live-
and then like
Live
At
Love
Long
ASAP,
Last. Oh
Long
yeah,
Live
yeah,
ASAP. And then Allah, and I was like, all right, yo, Allah was fire. He about to drop something way harder. And then I listened to, I don't even think I got through it. I probably listened to like 4 songs. And it was a dub for me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think Dan and your argument actually hold up for like Childish Gambino's last work, which is of course amazing, and people were mad because it wasn't a rap album.
The one with the no title, the dates or whatever.
Oh no. Sorry.
The one before that with Mama.
Yeah, the
2016?
the funk album.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That was a good album.
Are you talking about 3:15:20 or are you talking about?
You talking about the
No, I'm
one?
t-
You talking Awaken,
um,
I think Awaken.
He's talking about the one with Redbone.
Awaken My
Awaken.
Yeah.
That was a good album.
Awaken My Love. That was a good album.
That was
The-
like the 2016 moment. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
that was a
The
good.
3:15:21 I couldn't listen to.
I
haven't heard all of it.
I couldn't get through that.
Why couldn't you listen to it? Before we, Dion, I don't want to jump away from your point because I'm.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
So I do this thing like I listen to albums front to back, right? Like from first song to last song. And so as I was listening to it, I got to maybe probably like the second or third song, and I didn't like it, so I stopped listening, which is bad. I need to stop doing that. I need to hit the skip button or something. But
Yeah, if you want.
That's the way I am with albums. I try to, because I try to listen to it for the story. You know?
I do the same. I normally skip it, like if I don't like it, to see if there's something I like.
I guess I don't believe in the skip button.
I still want my time back for the time I spent listening to that Tory Lane BS. Like I really
the new one?
When he dropped the album, the surprise album, whatever, Daystar, I was like, bruh.
Oh yeah, I didn't listen to that.
I'm like, bruh.
I heard the one single because of Twitter about like how he didn't do what he did. I was like,
it was every song. It was every song, and I'm just like, bruh.
Yeah, I'm not gonna flex, bro.
Nigga, I'm not playing with you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but like that might be a little bit of your fault.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, since then, I haven't listened to Tory, so it's just like I can't.
Bro, what is that? One of those songs, I forgot what song came on my Spotify the other day. It was one of Tory's like old songs, slapped, and it just hurt because I deleted it.
I know it hurts, and I still have the music on my phone, but it's like I can't play it. Like,
yeah, bro.
I don't know.
Do you guys feel that? Like, I guess this kind of goes into the focusing on the artist versus their
or separating the artist from the
separating the artist from their art.
Can we talk about that?
Move.
It's.
Did you say separating the art from the artist?
Yeah.
Their personal life, yeah, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always hard for me because it's like, especially if it's a good song, it's like I can't stop listening to Michael Jackson. Like, I'm sorry, I just can't. You know, like some artists, like I can't. Like Tory, like I like Tory, but I was never really an avid fan like that, right?
Right.
So it's easier for me to cut off Tory than it is for me to cut off Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. I think we should be able to do that in theory, but the emotional aspect of it is what makes it hard because I mean, music is supposed to impart emotion and make you feel, and to cut that away from the artist is challenging.
It definitely is. I mean, I agree with that, but it's also like I don't know. The Tory and Megan situation it was just iffy, like, and also it didn't feel right. Like at the same time, like we watching lives. We don't. I mean, we're like the audience. We don't know what's going on. Like you don't know who's lying or telling the truth. So innocent to proven guilty, it is a thing. But still, I'm like we looking at character as well. Like I know a lot of people compared his situation and like Chris Brown. They were like, okay, they're both like abusers. They both like, why are we like not like crucifying Chris or whatever? And just like,
but we did crucify Chris.
We did, but he also made
crucify Chris to the day.
And he also made amends for that. Like I feel like
why do you feel like he made amends for it?
I
I
mean,
mean,
Oh,
bro,
Chris
he
played-
was on
Chris
probation
played
for
with
he
his
was
career.
on probation. He
He was on
apologized.
probation for like 10 years.
Beyond probation,
He
Chris
didn't have
Brown's
to. He
career
didn't.
after that was basically
Yeah,
over.
it was. He was
Like,
black for a little bit.
Yeah, if not even for a little bit, like it's like Chris
No,
Brown
it was some
at,
years. He had to
yeah,
do like a rebranding and like rebuild his career.
but I'm saying even beyond that, like the trajectory of his career just changed because at that point in time, he was regarded as the next Michael Jackson. Like my boy had the moves, he had the songs, he was it. And then after that, it was like everyone blacklisted him. You know, and to even get where he's at right now is a blessing because like he was really done for a minute. Like Jay wasn't messing with him. A lot of labels were, even his own label. He was having trouble with his own label. So yeah, like his career, for what it is right now, is amazing. Because to come from whence he came is not to say that he didn't deserve it, but
Yeah, I think it's like almost like for I guess all criminals, but just people in general. Like if you make amends, kind of like Chris, besides probation, he did try to go to therapy.
Yeah, and he apologized. I feel like he apologized to Rihanna. You don't gotta apologize to us as the fans. Like we're not.
Yeah.
Like the.
Yeah.
Like this is real life. This is the thing, right? Because I feel like there's different levels of support. In my opinion, if I listen to your music, that doesn't mean that like if I see you in person, I'm automatically a fan. Like, I can like a song, I can like an album without even being a fan. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean I'm gonna purchase your merch. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna purchase a concert. I'm not gonna go to a concert. That doesn't mean that like once I'm in the industry, that doesn't mean I'll even work with you. But I can listen to a song and I don't feel bad about it. But like I said, it's different levels of support. Like Playboy Cardi, I think is a good example. And this is a whole other thing too. Not to distract from the point I made, but it's like I think it depends on what you're listening to the artist for. And I'm using Earl and Playboy Cardi as examples because they're like really different ends of the scale, but I love listening to both of them. Like I'm listening to Earl Sweatshirt to like feel uplifted and to feel motivated and to like beat depression. You know what I mean? So if stuff comes out that like Earl is doing like crazy stuff on the side to like the women in his life, then it's like that's gonna affect like the reason. Like I'm gonna know like the music is not it's not honest. But if I'm listening to Playboy Cardi and I'm listening to Playboy Cardi just to turn up to like get out of like the headspace that I'm listening to Earl for, then it's like yeah, I'm gonna keep listening to Playboy Cardi even though he's a horrible father because it's like I don't expect that from him. That's not what I'm like looking for going into his music in the first place. Does that mean I'm gonna buy his merchandise? No, because I'm not that invested in him. But I'm more invested in Earl because of his message. So I expect more from him than I expect from like rappers like Playboy Cardi or Future or like low key Drake at this point. So that's my perspective on it. It's like you gotta practice what you preach.
Yeah, definitely. I think
that's the problem for a lot of people though. Like they listen to these artists as an outlet, right? And if you're listening to, I don't know if anyone does this, but if you're listening to Tory Lanez as an outlet and you're a woman, then you're probably not going to be inclined to listen to his music anymore because of his actions.
He harms women, right?
Right. So yeah, like that's the thing. But I think as culturally too, like we as fans, like we need to divorce ourselves so much from having these like high expectations of artists too, because they're people at the end of the day. They make mistakes. They eat, breathe, and all that just the same we do. And we, especially in our culture, we glorify celebrity, right? And sometimes in doing that, like we put them on such a high pedestal that when they do some of these things or even lesser crimes, we chastise them and without actually providing support for them or providing them understanding of like why these things are problematic, because some of these things can be related to traumas that they suffered as well. So
Yeah, I mean that was the whole argument behind the R. Kelly thing when his
Definitely.
documentary came out.
Yeah, that was
And I know,
crazy.
yeah, I know my parents, like, when that whole thing came out, I think it was like the first time I see it, they like just completely deleted all of his music. Because I mean, like, you know, especially if you're singing like sexual songs and you
Yeah,
know we find out all of your songs, like when you were writing them you were thinking about kids, like that's
he was peeing on little
Yeah.
girls and stuff like this.
yeah. You can't rock with that at all
Yeah, at all. No. Yeah.
But as far as
but
making
the-
other mistakes is different.
yeah, and the other thing with the R. Kelly situation, that like beyond his own like sickness, they need to go after the people that were there.
Yeah, because there were people that were helping him, like get these girls, groom these girls.
Exactly, and nobody's talking about that aspect. How they provided a culture where this was okay. Like
Right.
R. Kelly was hitting on Aaliyah,
Yep,
and Aaliyah was 15.
They got married.
They got married. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah,
Rest in peace, and also
Right.
Oh
rest
yeah.
to the queen.
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, there's a problem within the culture that is not being addressed, and we want to finger point at some of these figures, which they deservedly so, but we need to also analyze and understand what's going on within these spaces and make sure that it's safe, because it's clearly hasn't been in the past.
Yeah.
Facts.
It's a heavy topic, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, it is
Definitely a deep podcast.
Yeah.
It is this episode. Ooh.
Let's get back into the interview though.
But yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So we have Masongo, our boy. So Masongo, give us some background on you. How did you get into rap? How long you been rapping?
I got into rap. I'd say through my cousins, through just being around friends at school and stuff. I have been rapping for about 8 years, going on 9 this November.
That's impressive. Yeah.
If you don't mind, how old are you?
I'm 23 years old.
23?
Yeah.
So you've been rapping since you were 14, 15?
Yeah.
Have you been making music since that time, or just freestyling, just rapping on your
own? Mostly on my own, just writing and like kind of performing here or there, whether it was like ciphers or like talent shows and stuff, which were mostly my places.
And your first album, but your first project that you dropped like officially was like last year, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, yes, my first original project. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I have a project before that entitled April Showers that dropped in like 2018, but I've been making that since like 2014 to 2017, and it's more of like my episode 0, like the what do you call it in television?
Pilot episode.
Yeah, it's the pilot episode to the now green lighted series, and like Garden of Gethsemane is basically it's pretty much the first season. So April Showers is pretty much like me like really getting started, but it was mostly through other people's instrumentals, and like I was still trying to find myself as a rapper and such, and I was not good. I was not good. You can obviously tell the difference on this current EP I just dropped last year. So with that was actually supposed to be an album, but things happened, and I just decided to use the scrapped content to I just wanted to put something out for everyone who's been supporting. It wasn't really for my sake at this point, so I was just like, you know what, let's just drop something, and it ended up working out.
Right. I think you said a while ago, like I think on one of the lives when you were performing, that one of the songs on the project was inspired by your grandma.
Yes, on the new EP I just dropped, Guardian Angel EP. Yeah. Both songs on there were inspired by my grandma. Wait, no. I know what you're talking about. Sorry, because I just dropped another EP in
Yeah,
like this past month called Guardian Angel EP.
yeah,
Basically, those songs did not make the cut, but I wanted to put them out anyway.
got you.
The song Yibambe was inspired by my grandma. Like I wrote that the day on like of Chadwick Boseman's death. So, because I had this song called "My Blackness Is Not Your Consumption."
Mm,
I dropped it earlier in the summer on someone else's instrumental, but I knew that for some reason I just knew like it it needed to have a home, an official home. So I asked one of the producers I was working with, well, the sole producer I worked with, basically I asked him for a beat and he sent it. And it was perfect. So I really wanted to expand on my experiences like with the recent protests last year and stuff. Like kind of give something of more substance to Black women to listen to, and especially like for us Black men, like kind of just like um to really take in this serious moment of what America is and simply try to like hold on to that reverence, that sacredness. Like if you're told to like to have a moment of silence and like you just feel the air get really thick in the room, like that kind of.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it sounds like most of the music that you make is really reflective of the social climate that's around us, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, pretty much social climate and like my personal like journey and stuff.
What
Yeah.
what do you like to reflect on the most? Like I guess because it sounds like your last project was kind of oriented towards one specific theme, but do you think that you have a theme that you can lock down that like you kind of use to guide you through consistently when you're making music, or do you just kind of hop around to whatever you're on at the moment?
Um, I hop around more so. I try to take inspiration from myself and whatever I'm doing in my life. Like it's not like a movie, you know. It's more of just right now. It's just I'm just living and like surviving. So like now I'm trying to lock down more of my personal thoughts and like stories in which like it's not really reflected by the social climate, because like the social climate, yeah, it's a great place to like always draw from, but it gets kind of boring because it's like, you know, I don't want to just be the activist all the time. Like I want to just spit bars now. Like I just want to like let people know like we on a different type of time this year, and that's what I'm trying to do this year. Just rap, strictly rap.
What's your process for like songwriting and stuff like that?
My process, my process for songwriting is like I'll have a beat, and if it's really nice, I'll like end up thinking about it. But I usually think about the first line I want to open up with, something that's cool, something that I can hear myself rapping. And then from there I start writing. Like usually I may write like half a verse, I may write like an entire verse in one sitting. Like I wrote a song, I finished part two of a song yesterday, and like if I can show you my notebook,
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
it's pretty much what it looks like when I'm writing. It's very dense and detailed. I've gotten back into more so writing via paper. Not necessarily. I mean, phone is cool too, but like having somewhere where I can just scratch it on paper.
Yeah,
I know that it's there because I don't want to lose that. And like,
you can come back to that. Like,
Yeah, like before when I started rapping, I was just trying to be like lyrical, miracle, spiritual, residual, like and like trying to create that whole turn up thing. But then like I realized, I wasted a lot of words. Now I'm not really trying to waste any of my words at all. Like even if it's like it may not be barred up, but it's still barred up in the sense of like if you actually think about what I'm saying, 2 to 3 lines later it connects. You
Right.
know,
Let's say less with more.
yeah,
Say more with less.
yeah. And that's
So
how I've been inspired by like Earl and like Playboy Cardi, like Mavi, Mike, like even like Kendrick, Schoolboy, like these guys, like what I realized about lyrical rap, it's lyrical because not really because of how the words come together, but more so like how the picture is painted. Because people are more so always focused on the brushstrokes or like how what exactly it means in terms of literal meaning. It's like it's just the entire thing is what makes the painting, the entire experience from beginning of the process to the end to people's experiences with it. I don't really want to focus anymore on like um trying to surpass like all the greats because I'm already great myself. And that's something I had to like it took me years to finally realize this, but it's like I'm already great. Like, why am I trying so hard to like emulate everyone else? Like, you have Doom, you have Three Stacks, and like it's funny with Doom. Like a lot of people always, every time they say that they hear me rap, they're like, "You remind me of Doom," and it's like I never really thought about it in detail. Like I was just honored to get such a compliment, but I'm like, you know what? Like now, I'm honored to be in that lexicon for somebody because it's like that's not you can't just say that for anyone. Like I think to have to carry that baton and raise that bar for myself just shows how powerful my music is because like even Doom's lyrics are like hard to decipher. Like sometimes you just rhyme words just rhyme words, and like sometimes you gotta rhyme just to have people on Rap Genius just go crazy just to have that moment. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the time like they may not even have meaning. Like what's that Kanye West line that he said on
I don't listen to Doom.
Niggas in Paris?
Yeah.
Wait, which Kanye?
The something something going gorillas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they going gorillas. What does that even mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just the people going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you just gotta have those moments like that. Or so like so then yeah, so basically now, my process is just kind of hectic because it will be like when I feel like the writing bug is like really biting me at that moment. Like if I'm in the shower, if I'm doing dishes, if I'm on like a walk or something, and I feel that bug is creeping in, like I have to kind of like get myself together to kind of just scratch something down. And it may be like 2 to 4 bars, or maybe an entire thing. But I try to say something. Doesn't have. I mean, something of substance in the sense of like people know like oh he's not just some other rapper from the hood. Blah blah blah. It was just so weird, but that's how society kind of perceives us as musicians. But it's just like to show like I'm saying a lot more and being direct because a lot of the times, like, Dirk could be talking about gun violence in his songs, but you never know because the ad libs are super catchy. And it's just like, I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to waste my time. You know how boring it is? And I feel so, I don't know if I can listen to myself for like a long time because I just end up, I guess, because like I know not because I'm bored, but I'm just like I don't want to hear myself all the time. I just want to kind of like have something maybe as a buffer, as a filler, or just like have it transition to the next thing. Like I don't have to listen to myself, but other people may enjoy it. I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to end up having to think about myself at all in any capacity. Even though because now I don't want to have like other people's opinions of myself in my head as I'm doing it, or as I'm going from beginning to end. but more so like even after the process, like I want to just be able to be like, oh, I sound great. Like I did a great ass job, and then go on to the next thing. That's it.
Would you say like you're like a tough critic on your own stuff, like when you're making music?
Bro, you don't understand how much I curse myself all the time when I'm rapping. Like, I gotta make sure. It's weird because my cadence is not actually normal. Like the way I rap, I think it's probably the most unique I've heard someone rap in like ever. I think. I don't know if you guys agree, but like, because when people hear me rap, it was like they've never heard that before, and like my cadence is like super. It's not for the mainstream, I would say. Like I mean, if you listen to the songs that I did, Dreamland and Hit My Line, those are like as
And my
mainstream.
line was definitely, yeah.
Yeah, like even I can definitely hit that mainstream thing, but I'm like, uh which is easy now that I think about it, but it's also like I don't know if I can do that consistently because that's just not
That's not
how
your that's not your core, like
that's
something.
that's not how I sound naturally. And even like
Yeah.
even when I started writing, like that's not really what I was kind of gravitating towards that, because of Big Sean, Kanye, like you look at Pusha T or whatever. But it's always the underground, the more independent artists that always had a hold a place in my heart. So it's more of like even when I rap, like I'm not hitting the same tempo someone else is hitting. Like they may be on beat like boom, 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 boom. I may be coming in like boom, 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 boom. So like I may have an entirely different take on whatever. So I think that's what makes me unique. And yeah, it's just like something I had to personally like overcome because I had people like telling me that I shouldn't be rapping, throwing the towel, like, because I have a lisp too. It's just like it's not gonna be audible, you're rapping too fast, all this stuff. But then it's like, with this last project and even like the stuff I'm recording now, I'm like, I really was dwelling on people's opinions of me this entire time, even going to these recording sessions, because like I don't really necessarily like going to other people's houses to record unless I really know them, unless I actually like personally like have some sort of relationship where I feel comfortable. Because I've gone to people's houses and I never really felt comfortable in the sense of like I can actually just be myself and just get
Get
whatever
into
I
that
get.
space.
Yeah, like, and that happened I was comfortable like when I first started, when I was like when I started earlier, like in 2014, because I was recording with my boy from high school, my boy John, and like, I was able to do whatever I wanted. But then like as I transitioned from like other people's houses and stuff, it just kind of like it was kind of like I never really could feel comfortable to mess up, to really just rap the way I wanted to, whatever. And now that I got my own equipment, which I got on my birthday, like I can do whatever the fuck I want and it's gonna be fine. Like, um, aside from like if Yao tells me like, oh, like maybe you should try to rap this slower, like he's giving me pointers on the engineering side, then that's it. Then that's like the only thing I'll listen to. Otherwise, like everything else is just like I just don't think about when I do this because um it's maybe a better person like musically, but it's also helped me like grow mentally in the sense of like I I need to start relying on myself more. I can't rely on other people to do things for me in any aspect of life, outside of like certain things like finances or like, like social communal like things. Like I have to learn how to cater to myself and like find that inner peace, that find that love for myself and like pour it back into me, because I pour so much into other people, into their opinions, into their thoughts and stuff. And it's like, I never really did that for myself. And if I did that for myself, I'd be leaps and bounds ahead of the best version of myself. So
Yeah,
pretty
go
much.
ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to finish your thought real quick.
So like this broken cadence actually gave me freedom because it made me realize like I don't need the things I wanted. I actually don't really need at all when I have everything right here.
Okay.
You were saying, Daniel?
Okay. What I wanted to ask, I have a question floating in my head, right? Because when we were chatting before the interview really like started, I know you mentioned that you're in school right now for communications, but you have a love for music. How far are you trying to go in music?
That's a good question because if I had to be honest, I was actually thinking about retiring this year. I know it's like all of a sudden, but I don't know. I just thought of it because I'm currently working. I guess I'll announce it. I'll announce it. It doesn't matter.
So
I'm working on-
how far before we jump too deep into it, right? Give me a sense of like where you're at right now in music in general. Like where are you in music right now? Like where would you place yourself? Um, what have you achieved that you're proud of? What would you like to see more? Just kind of give me a sense of where you're at before you explain kind of the mentality or mindset that makes you want to retire right now.
Okay. In terms of accolades, I haven't gotten much. I've had I have interviews I guess lined up for the year or whatever, podcast stuff, and like I think someone put one of my friends put me on the list of top EPs for last year, and I was placed at number 11 outside their top 10. So like that was cool. Um, I have a review of my EP coming out this week on the 19th. So yeah, I mean, I guess the greatest accolade I've received was just like people genuinely enjoying my music and
That's a wonderful accolade too, because it's like
yeah,
it doesn't have to be awards. Grammys don't mean anything in this day and age. You know what I mean? Like this and stuff is like it doesn't matter as long as it's like you got. It sounds like you're getting what you went into it for, which was to make music that people genuinely enjoy. And it
yeah,
sounds
and money too, and
you want
money too.
people to. Okay. Are you feeling like
Yeah,
at a place where you're making the money that you want to make out from music?
no,
Then why you want to
no.
retire?
Nah, like so I'm getting some money from Bandcamp and that's cool, but like I don't like the idea of having to split my bread. I'm just like that's so lame to me, bro. You know, I have to start figuring out a way to circumvent that in which I have a direct system to pay to get the music from myself to you as a fan.
Yeah.
Or you just pay for the Dropbox and download it yourself. I mean, that's pretty much how like Bandcamp isn't bad, but it's like the fact that I can charge people for my music and I know what it's worth, you know, because that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Streaming, it's funny because I just got my statement back today from United Masters and I pretty much made nothing. I probably made like only 4 cents on like royalties or something. So, and I didn't want to put it out on streaming actually at first. That's something I don't want to say I regret it, but that's something I would have done differently. Just put it straight on Bandcamp because I had a friend of mine who was like, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, you should put it out on streaming for accessibility, whatever, you know." And I was like, "Okay, that makes sense." And I was just excited in the moment. I was like, "Yeah, like it's gonna be on streaming soon, blah blah blah." But I'm like, man, I'm not getting much money. Plus, even if people, I mean, yeah, people may not have money now, and like or you know with everything going on, but it's like people have money, people are able to spend money on certain things. So I'm like,
Yeah.
if you have money to buy kicks or like some stuff from Zara, or like you know you're able to pay your rent and such, or like listen to Tidal and all that all in stream, you can pay for music. Like you know it's all about like how you view music, and music I think is like kind of worthless. It's kind of a worthless commodity because if you don't have another thing attached to it like the merchandise, a concert ticket, or like you know an entire PS5 raffle or something, like people want the whole like they want a sense of like a goodie
Yeah.
bags. Like when you went to a party, you got a goodie bag, right?
Right.
With candy and everything. But if you didn't like certain candies, you try to trade with your friends and all that. So it's in that same concept. Like people will come to your party to get the goodie bag. Not probably not to really like enjoy your birthday, but more so the cake, the opening
So,
of
Masongo,
presents.
you're losing me a little bit because I'm still. So, in this analogy, are you the party or are you the goodie bag? Is your music the party? Is the music the cake? I'm sorry, I'm trying to connect the dots.
My music is everything, the entire event. From
Okay, so
so I'm,
your music is the party.
yes,
What are you?
I'm the person who the party's for. I'm the host.
Okay, so what's the goodie bag? I'm just confused as to like where the goodie bag comes into the analogy.
The goodie bag would be pretty much merchandising, pretty much like if I have a live show and like I post the link on Eventbrite or Bandcamp Live now where you're able to sell tickets for your show. I do that, or simply attach some sort of some sort of extra commodity where it's monetized and it's like an extra incentive, like, oh, because you've been a long time fan.
Okay,
Let me
okay.
give y'all, yeah, let me give y'all a sense of an insider kind of thing. So it's like in that sense to me, like, you know,
You want them
people.
to come for the goodie bag. You want them to be happy with the goodie bag when they walk away from the party.
Right, right.
But you don't want them to come just for the goodie bag. You want them to come because they rock with you.
Right.
Yeah, because they're my friends. Like, if you're coming for the goodie bag, it's like that's cool and all, but I mean, like that just, I mean, it's kind of just messed up because it's like, dang, like, you know, I thought we were coming for the experience, and that's what I'm trying to highlight: the experience itself, the aspect of socially gathering to simply have a great time.
If they
And
can
it's
come
like,
for the experience and still enjoy it, have a good goodie bag though.
yeah, and the thing is, I don't have money for the goodie bag. I don't have money for like merchandising and stuff. So it's like it's harder, especially as a broke independent artist, to really get those things in place, like vinyls and stuff. Because now, like um on the same song that I'm rapping for this project I will announce in a few, basically I said don't rap without a day job, because the idea of rappers quitting their jobs or like quitting school to pursue this thing, doing this myself, I realized like that's the dumbest thing you could ever do, because you're not even gonna get much money. Like, yeah, your net worth will go up. You may have like millions of dollars, but it's like you have to pay somebody back. It's the same
Not,
aspect of going to college. And like when
not
you actually,
necessarily all the time. Not necessarily all the time.
right,
I want to interrupt you because it's just a lot of artists, especially in this day and age, who aren't signed to a label, are making good money. They might not be like a superstar, but they might be
right,
making $80,000. You know, they might be popping in their hometown, and like they don't have
exactly,
a label. They did it just off of Instagram and like DAWs. You know what I mean?
exactly. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. But I looked at to go into like why I'm retiring, because it's like looking at the bigger picture of that, it's very expensive. So in the aspect of, in the grand scheme of things, I have to kind of decide like, do I want to make money to reinvest in my craft? You know, it sounds great, but then I have to think about, okay, I'm paying rent, I'm paying taxes, I have to pay I have to pay student loans back. I have to also like eat food, survive and stuff. And it's just like, you know, is it really worth cleaning out my expenses on, let's say, like a monthly or yearly basis to kind of just do the same thing I'm doing now, but with more lenient, with more financial leniency, to kind of delve into more into creating more goodie bags for people to stay and come back or whatever. I mean, it's a lie. Like with the way things, I don't want to say it's because things are fickle. It's just like um, I feel like I've already kind of. I feel like my goal in this is to show people that they can do it with their limited resources. At the end of the day, like I'm proud if someone's like, "Yo, your music saved my life," or "Your music really helped me get through a tough spot," or "You really taught me like ownership," because the fact that I own my masters is like that's an important thing to me, because it shows like I don't need the industry at all to do anything. I really can just do this myself. There's a lot of pros and cons, but at the end of the day, it's all with me, and I can choose. I can choose to quit. Most rappers can't actually quit. Like, unfortunately, like as much as people like Logic or Jay-Z want to like portray that it's true. It's like it's not. Because you see, like Jay-Z still had to come back and rap after the Black album. Like Logic is still he's not necessarily rapping, but like he like depending on his situation in terms of his contract and like the way his life is going, like he may have to come back a few times. Like he can't necessarily truly quit music and just strictly become a Twitch streamer or a celebrity, you know?
Nah, he probably could.
I mean, he has a label as well.
talking about
He's got a
Logic?
label.
I get what you're saying.
Logic or
because
Jay?
if you're locked into X amount of years, yeah, you have to, or albums, you have to fulfill your contractual obligations.
Yeah.
But typically when artists say they're gonna retire, like it's because, well, at least these high profile artists, it's because they've already fulfilled that obligation. Like Logic, J. Cole, Jay-Z, like he fulfilled his contractual obligations after the Black album. He just wanted to come back because he missed it. Like he missed rapping. And if you remember, like Black album dropped 2003. He didn't come back until 2007. You know?
Yeah, you're right.
And in that meantime, he was building up his corporate portfolio. He was doing what you're saying. He was basically getting a 9-to-5 job to supplement it because he knew, well, not even that he knew, he just wanted an empire. He wanted something larger than just music. He wanted the sports aspect. He wanted, entertainment. So if you want to, there's options for you. I get what you're saying, but as an artist, I would never recommend retirement.
No, I'm saying retirement as a more generalized thought process of it, because my thought process is very, very complex. So if you want to get into nitty gritty, pretty much.
My bad, man, not to cut you off, but like, why? If I feel like as you're saying, you're listing like all the achievements and stuff that your stuff like lined up and like all the progress you've made. So why do you want to retire like this year?
Realistically, it's because I want people off my scent. Like, so with this project I just dropped, one of the producers I was working with, they basically like, so like long story short, they're trying to like force me to pay them $500 for their contribution.
The same producer you're telling me about before?
Yeah. They're trying to charge me for like $500 for their contributions towards the project and everything. And like, I pretty much told them like, everyone else on here is like fine with the fact that they may not be compensated, even though I'm still thinking about, okay, I need to find a way to compensate the people who have helped me so far, like I'm not going to leave you empty handed, but like currently I'm just like in school right now, So I'm like, but I'm always thinking about that too. And it's like, I don't want to owe anyone anything at all. Like it's just, but yeah, to keep going. Yeah, like I guess it's like he's still out there, but I just don't want him to find me. I don't want other people like in those situations to have to deal with that. And I'm just like, I don't want to have to deal with people like that anymore. Like it's part of the gig, but I'm just like, I just don't really, I'm trying to like disappear in a sense. Like, how, have you watched what's this Batman movie where I forgot the name of it now.
Think about it. Let it come back to you. But real question. Please answer this honestly. Like, do you enjoy making music?
Yeah, I do enjoy making music for sure.
Do you enjoy the attention that you get from making music?
I do enjoy it, yes.
Why would you stop?
Yeah, I don't. I hear what you're saying about like stuff like that on the business side, but the business side is always like, it's always a gamble.
Yeah, I know. And
I don't think that's a reason why you should retire.
Masongo, what's your Instagram real quick?
I think it's about building
first and last name,
good relationships with people, and like kind of making sure you have something in writing, like when you're working on like music and stuff like that.
Right. It's more of a hiatus. It's just like it's just like after making this project, I just realized like, while I see like kind of thinking to myself back when I was like really trying to be the next Drake, Kendrick, Cole, whatever, you know, there's a lot you have to kind of give yourself to this, and I'm giving myself, but I'm also like, at the end of the day, I don't know, man. I'm just like I definitely I can do this forever for real. It's more of a I guess more. No, huh?
Do you have a team around you? Do you have anybody who's helping you and is like, what's it called? Who's really like a constant with you when you're making your music? Not necessarily even just through the music, but through like the distribution side, through the promotion. Do you have anybody who's like? Do you have a team around you? Is what I'm saying, and not that doesn't mean a label, but do you have like a best friend who you can always ask, like, yo, does this sound right? Like somebody who can go to and be like,
oh yeah, I do. I usually ask her. Yeah, I usually ask for input. That's like the only thing. Otherwise,
yeah.
I'm just,
I'm saying that like I'm saying it's like I feel like, and I might be wrong here because we just met like 2 hours ago, but it's like I'm enjoying hearing your story. I'm enjoying talking to you, and it's like, but I'm just really really confused because it's like I know that like, and I feel you too because I'm 22 years old and like I do computer science, but at the same time, it's like I write too. I want to make movies and TV shows and stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's like you're kind of conflicted because it's like it's hard out here if you want to be somebody who's creative and like pursue something creative as a career, while at the same time you do kind of have to be practical and kind of look at like, okay, how am I going to make money right now and like pay my rent today? You know what I mean? So I get it. Like I get why it's like it's conflicted. But I think like from what I'm hearing from you, it's like everything around making music is what's considering you pausing the music. You know what I mean? And it's like there are people who can help you with that. It's like there are people who can help you manage what's it called? Like the relationships that you have with other people in music, the relationships that you have with your producers, the business side of it, the marketing side of it. You don't have to be on a label for that. Like you just gotta get like three or four good friends who like know about these things that you need to get a little bit better. You get what I'm saying?
People, or like a friend who's producer, who knows the game, like how you have y'all who's like engineers and stuff like that.
Like you want to get to a spot where all you have to worry about is your music.
Right.
Yeah, and that's honestly what I love at the moment for sure. I don't know. I guess because there's a Batman movie. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's two parts. It's basically like an older version of Batman, basically, who re-enters Gotham, who re-enters into the Batman cowl as like as an unlawful vigilante because has outlawed like Batman or whatever. And he pretty much is plotting his retirement, but his retirement basically is working more underground and still forming a league of Batman. It's actually a very good movie. It's on HBO Max. The name just blanked from my mind for some reason, but watching that film made me realize like that it just made me realize like thinking about the biggest picture and like seeing how even like people on the mainstream are dealing with this and stuff. It's like I'm not gonna die with this music. Like I'll definitely put my expenses and stuff and everything into it, but it's like at the end of the day, what I want my goal to be is to somehow have this be like passive income so that my kids and my family can like benefit from this, especially through ownership. But it is really hard doing it by myself, just like kind of carrying that huge burden, and it's exhausting. Like I literally am I guess to go back into my announcement, I'm like working on a collaborative album with a couple of friends of mine that I met through an Isaiah Rashad Discord. It's called Mother's Hands Hold the Sun. So it's with my boy Tristan, who's on production, and my other boy, Goat Boy, who's the other rapper on the project. So it's it's a 9-track album, and we're pretty much starting to work on that now. I also have a debut album I was supposed to start working on, but I decided to work on Mother's Hands Hold the Sun instead. So with the debut project, I have about like 3 songs done. I haven't really touched it, but I was also like, I don't want to rush with that too. But yeah, like going back to what you said, Daniel, like I'm in a transitioning state because I'm like about to graduate college. I need to figure out like, job, trying to like save money, move out the house and stuff like that. So it's more of a hiatus to be logical about it. It's just more of like retirement just sounds better because now I can kind of just like quietly stack up my money, pay people, and go on about my day. Because it's like I don't want to have to feel like I have no closure with certain things, and I'm able to just go on about my day. I just don't want to be bothered with things. But yes, pretty much what you pointed out was pretty much right. So it's a lot. I know. Like I've been thinking about it, and it's like I don't know. Like I don't know how people. I don't even know how I'm even doing this. I'm just kind of like going on about my life and figuring it out, as I said earlier. So
This is the thing, because I can tell this is something that you got to think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if music is something that you do eventually want to make a career out of, and I don't know if that is, I don't know if you love what you're doing in journalism and communications, then like of course like I encourage you like go full speed ahead of that. But like I believe everybody should do things that they're passionate about, um, and that should be the first thing. Like making money is like important, and I definitely think everybody should be able to be stable in life. But I think first and foremost is like you should do things that you care about. So, like I said, if you care about communications, go for it. But if you care about music more than you care about communications, um, what I'm going to suggest to you, and I'm suggesting this to you because it's like it's a mistake that I made that I had to learn from. Um, you want to stay consistent. You don't want to have to drop off, and then 5 years later, like you're saying, like where you have the money and the resources to come back, then you come back. When you come back, it's not like you're at a point right now where it's like you have enough built up that you won't fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like by the time that you stack up your money, it's like you're still gonna have to start from zero again.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, you have some leverage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Momentum is a big thing in music. Like I remember I used to intern at this recording studio, and the manager there, like she was like, the best thing the artist can do is have 2 albums at all times ready, right? That way you can drop one and have another one ready, right? Because in music, like people, especially now, people consume music so fast, right? And you're at a point right now where you just dropped a couple projects and you're starting to get recognition for them. You're doing interviews, right? So if you were to stop right now, like it's like Dan said, you would have to start all over again. You know?
Right.
That's true.
And also sometimes like I know like you have a lot of stuff going on. You're thinking about graduation because I mean I graduated in December, like, but sometimes you have to bet on yourself. Like
Yeah.
even with the label register, like that was a bet with me and Zion. Like we didn't know like we still don't know what we're doing. Like it's just like it's through networking. It's just grinding.
Thanks. Wait, I have a question, Daniel. Why don't you have social media?
A weird question. It's not a weird question. I'm sorry, but it's a question that I have to think about. This is the first time like somebody's actually asked me that question. Um, Social media, it's a variety. The reason is kind of a variety of reasons. The reason is for me personally, I think it's kind of unhealthy. I think each one is kind of its own devil in like a certain ways. Um, the biggest reason why is there's a word for it. It's an echo chamber. That's the biggest thing. It's hard to have a conversation on social media that actually includes like a certain level of nuance where you can really like get into the meat and bones of things. It's like, to be honest, on Twitter, everybody's on Twitter just to be funny. You know what I mean? It's hard to be on Twitter and like actually like learn something on Twitter.
Or be yourself.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's a whole other thing. On Instagram, I feel like that's the devil of Instagram, where it's like you feel like so compelled and so responsible to like build this character of yourself, and it's just like
Definitely.
it doesn't feel human. Like social media doesn't feel human.
Like it's not genuine. Exactly.
Yeah, the only social media I'm on is Reddit, and like I love Reddit so much because it's so much more content focused than it is user focused. On Reddit, like you're focusing on the really small communities that you're in. There's no text limit, so you can type as much as you want or as little as you want. Like I said, it's not user focused, so it's like nobody cares about who you are. They care about the content that you're posting and if you're providing valuable information to people. So I only use Reddit. Um, just because it's a good source of information and it's a good place to actually have a conversation about something rather than like just get a tweet off. And like I don't have anything against people who use Twitter, but I think the platforms like make it difficult. They do the opposite of what they claim they do. They make it more difficult for us to connect than they make it easier for us to connect to each other.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you feel like with the way social media has progressed over the last few years? Like, do you feel like you're missing out, or do you feel perfectly fine?
No, I feel really fine because I've used social media. It's not like I've been doing this for a year. You know what I mean? I got off of Instagram last year. I've been on and off Twitter. Twitter is the most addictive algorithm ever.
It
So it's
is.
like it's taken me a
It
little bit,
is.
but I got off of Twitter like I think for good, like I think like 3 4 months ago. So at this point, I've been sober from all social media except for Reddit. And I don't. It's hard for
Would
me to
you
see Reddit as social media, but I feel like at some point I'm gonna have to distance myself from Reddit just to get the full experience. But
would you ever disconnect online?
yeah, I want to. I really want to, but I know that's not realistic for like the next like 5 years or so. But I'm trying to get as away from like the big platforms. So from the big three, right? Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So
Mm.
I've been on all of them. You know what I mean? Like I was one of those kids who got on Facebook when they were in middle school, and I gave all of my information because I was like a stupid middle schooler. And like now, like I'm an adult going through my Facebook. Like, why did I provide all of this information? Why did I provide all this information about where I live? My fit? Like this is so much information, and it's really weird even thinking about it because okay, like now I can connect to all these people. I can connect to all of them, but it's like you're not really seeing these people. You're not really like going. You're checking for like what's it called, current events. If somebody's stuff shows up on your algorithm, it's like okay, you like it, but for the most part, it's like no, I really don't feel. I feel like I'm more I feel like I'm more afloat because I'm not worried about. It's like one less face for me to worry about. You know what I mean? Like if you think of
Right.
social media, it's like you have your face, right? And it's like I might wake up in the morning, moisturize, put shea butter on, make myself look okay. But then it's like okay, I have to worry about this other face. I have to worry about this face. I have to worry about this face. I have to worry about this face. It's just like no, like that's way too much. I don't have the time to spend that much time using moisturizer and conditioner. It's like I just trying to you know what I'm saying? But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's like
No,
I
and
think social media is a really good way to make money, and
right.
I think that's the only reason that I would want to use social media within like the next like 3 or 4 years is to promote a brand or promote a business just to gain exposure. But for
Right.
myself, for my own experience in life, it's like I just want to live without having to worry about how I'm perceived to somebody else through my social media profile.
That's exactly how I feel about my music because my goal is to somehow wean myself off of like these huge platforms. I just reactivated my Twitter mainly because I needed something from there. But it's like once I got off, like I don't even feel the incentive to really be on because I'm just like, wow, like I was so consumed with these trending topics. Half of my conversation, like half of my lexicon in my mind is like Twitter stuff, useless Twitter stuff. And it's like the fact that I don't even think about this stuff anymore, that I don't even have to like actually talk about it. It's just like kind of insane how brainwashed I've been in the system for because I got Twitter like what, 2011? Like about 10 years ago. So I'm just like,
That's
imagine
about me. Yeah.
for 10 years I've been like seeing like Amber Cole, like what other Zola, the stripper from like Florida. What else?
Sharkeisha.
The dude, yeah, Sharkeisha, the dude who drove the new joke to beat up somebody on Christmas about Kobe. Like, there's so much that has happened within the social media phenomenon, like that. It's amazing that I even remember these things, but it's like, it's also like, wow, like I've been doing so much projecting of my life and trying to be human on these sites, and it's like there's no balance. You either are in or you're just like disconnected, and trying to balance the two, like, I eventually realized, like, I just want to disconnect, because like like you said, it's not a great way for people to actually get to know each other. It's a great way to make money, but it's not a great way for people to actually really
Really
enjoy enjoy the human experience. Like, in terms of like baby showers and weddings now, like, when you post that, people see that as a sense of an accolade. Like, Instagram's kink is accolades, because they want to see the good stuff. People have to make finstas to portray their real selves, or to portray the ugly stuff that goes on, to portray their like actual lives. And it's like, why do you need a finsta when you can actually post that on your main account and show people that you're actually human? Like, going to brunch.
A lot of people are insecure. A lot of people are scared of what they're gonna look like to other people when they post the bad stuff in their life, or just anything that isn't great. It's not even the bad stuff that's mediocre. Like, even that is terrifying. Like,
right. And like, for me, it's like, I've been through that entire like stage, and it's just like, now I'm just like, okay, I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty active, promoting my music or whatever. I could go back to Twitter one day and just, be lurking on people's stuff to just see what they're saying. But it's like, do I want to post a picture of my engagement? Do I want to post my wedding? Do I want to post my kids? Like, do I want to contribute to this as I'm getting older? And it's like, how much humanity of myself have I lost these things? I think that's what I took away. That's what I took away most, actually, from Logic's retirement. Like, the way social media has contributed to like his life in a way where it changed his life, but it also like really made him probably think like, dang, am I losing my humanity to these objects we're speaking into, to like freaking Tim Cook and all that? It's like, technology's been great, but I'm also like thinking about like, how are we going to be affected by this years from now? And it's just like, I don't want to be like 25 and 25 plus on Twitter, like down bad, like I don't have a job, like that's when I should be building towards, that's when I should be building like myself, my community with you guys. Like, we should be building towards something. Like, I don't want to be a grown ass adult online, like complaining about my life and stuff, when it's like, none of the stuff that I see online is going to translate to my real life. Like, we have shared experiences, but like, and we may be talking online, but you may not be able to actually help me right now in real life if I had an actual issue, and it's like stuff like that where like I'd want someone to actually help me. Like, I do like connect to people with music and stuff, but then it's like, at the end of the day, like, group chats are probably like the best example of that, because like with group chats, for me, what I've realized, like, I can only do them with people I actually like. And it's like, usually when I get in, I'll love everybody. I'll love like what the entire thing is about. But I find myself kind of like gravitating towards certain people, or towards a certain time when certain people are in there, or like just me kind of realizing like, yeah, this group chat's kind of dumb, because others, aside from whatever we're here for, like, what else are we doing? There's no like sense, like I think Sam, you were saying earlier, like there's no sense of like actually like conversing about, hey, how can we improve each other? How can we improve as humans or whatever? And it's like, we don't really have those conversations. And it's funny, because when I talk to my parents, they're like, oh, how come you don't talk to your friends about like, what you guys want to do and stuff? And it's like a valid question, because I end up not thinking about that at the moment. Because usually, like, as men, we talk about girls, we talk about what we're trying to do, like, to get money, whatever. But there's never that sense of like, how can we build each other up as men? How can we hold each other accountable? And what I like about the social media, like, it's become more of like a thing, especially with the gym, how people are like holding themselves accountable, trying to start this like a team exercise building thing. in which like people are routinely checking up on other people to make sure they're doing whatever it is that they have subscribed to do. And like that's what I want in my personal life. Cause like a lot of the men that I've interacted with haven't really um lived up to their standards or whatever standards I have projected on them from my perspective. So it's kind of like, you know, I want people who I know are actually great and are actually doing amazing things. Like if I ask about you in the street, they can say like, oh, Daniel and Sam, like those guys are doing well. Like Sign and Yao, like, yeah, those guys are really like doing something. You know, I want people who are actually positive factors to everyone and not just like positive in the limelight, but then doing a lot of
People
behind.
who are real in real life, like real in real life, not
Yeah,
real on Instagram. Like that's a real thing.
and that's what I want my music to portray. Like, yeah, I can do the whole mainstream. I can. It's so easy to do the mainstream thing. It's not even funny, but it's just like when you're actually. I want my music to actually be a conversation. Like I'm speaking to you. Like we're actually like the way we're talking now. You know, in a communal. A podcast is pretty much a public sphere, so we're engaging in ideas that we could improve on or solve entirely to better ourselves or the human race. And it's like I want my music to be a reflection of that in the sense of like, I'm speaking to you, I'm telling you about what I think my experience is, and I want you to take away something from it and actually use it for good and not just try to emulate it in the sense of like you're trying to go out there and gang bang too. You're trying to go out there and sell drugs as well. Like, your lifestyle may be completely different, what you actually do that. But, you probably see my music as like something that actually positively not only affects you, but affects people around you. And it propels society towards a better place. And that's really what I want to do. Cause it's just like, aside from the shitty business and like people as well, like there's actually great people, like there's actually great musicians, there's actually great producers and stuff, and at the end of the day it's like I'm willing to do it for not only for the love of the craft but to actually help people. That's all I really care about. Like all that other stuff, money's ephemeral. Like, services, I'd rather trade services, like I'd rather give you information like, yo, I know a guy who can do this, like hit him up, like he may get you right, you
Masongo,
know. Hmm?
I feel you. I feel you. I encourage you just to do it, dude. Just
Yeah,
get off the
I'm gonna.
service.
Same.
Just deactivate.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to implement better habits for myself because it's just like I've been doing this for years, and it's like it's social media. Social media is such a monster, and I'm actually glad we're talking about this because it's like I never really like expressed out loud, but it's just like it's so crazy how much you can lose to it, and it still affects your real life, but then anything you put out there doesn't necessarily translate to you. Like, how they do the manifesting thing, right? People manifest online. It's like you can put that out there and it may not necessarily come true, but if you if you get caught up in a situation and someone's airing you out, like that affects your real life. And it's like the algorithms the people who are creating these things, it's like they can do a way better job of making social media a way better experience for everybody, to actually control what is going on, but they don't
This
because
is the
they
thing, though. This thing, I don't even blame the algorithms. I don't blame them because, like, at the end of the day, it's like this is my perspective. You know what I mean? And it's like I don't expect anybody else to have the exact same opinion. I don't expect anybody else to have the exact same opinions of me on like almost anything. But in my personal opinion, I expect a company to have one goal, and that goal is to make money. And like I expect that company with the goal to make money, I expect them to be influenced by anything that's going to make them make more money. And I think it's the responsibility of everything around the company to influence it to be better as a whole and incentivize that towards being making money. So it's like if a company gets like tax write-offs for having like green energy initiatives or like what's it called or being carbon positive or whatever, carbon neutral.
hiring more diverse staff. Yeah.
Yeah, then it's like, and they make more money because they're a more environmentally friendly company. That's a win in my book. So it's like the same thing. If we can figure out a way to make it like financially incentivize companies to treat people better and to encourage communities better and to be less unhealthy,
And
that's great. But
exploitative,
it's
yeah.
like, huh?
And I was adding exploitative.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like people start companies so that they can make some money. And like I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to put more pressure on these CEOs to actually like make them like want to make their companies better. And I don't know. That's an opinion that might
But you
change
know
too. I don't
what's
think that.
ironic? You know what's ironic with that though? The fact that like a majority of these platforms, especially the big three, are more so like you as a user have to regulate your own experience.
That's a big
It's
thing
kind of
too. That's
it's
so
kind of
true.
like the way it's kind of like they don't want any liability towards like, oh, you know, we didn't force you to do this, but you did this yourself. And it's kind of like dumb because it's like in the sense of like, let's say like Donald Trump or, you know, very, very dangerous ideologies and stuff that you see, it's like, why am I seeing this? Like, why is it that I'm seeing a lot of black folks comment on like the Tory and Meghan situation, and a lot of black men are saying, "Oh, we're gonna be shooting bitches this summer." Like that was last year, but it's just like, you know, that's something I don't want to ever see.
Yeah. It's
And
easy
like,
to get brainwashed on social media. It's so easy to
right.
get brainwashed.
And it's like, dog, like the fact that you're even saying that, like, you know, that could that has ramifications, and I'm just like, yeah, like I think what you said was perfect. I think it's not wrong these people are making money, you know, but we do need to kind of force them to think about like, damn, like am I affecting the earth? Am I affecting society in a positive or negative fashion? How can I make it better?
Have you ever used Reddit?
Yeah, I've used Reddit. I actually like it. I like it.
Yeah. Have you made an account or have you like Googled something and then put Reddit after it?
I made an account. Yeah, it's nice. I
Yeah.
enjoy it for sure. I think that's probably like the best form of social media, or you don't have to feel sucked in to be on the app. You can just leave the app, and then like you'll still have your news, you'll still have your community that you interact with. There's no need to like have to be on 24/7. I feel that way. And the reason why I asked you about social media and stuff, because like that's how I feel about music. It's like I don't want to have to be online 24/7 promoting my stuff. You know, I want to be I want to be able to like just post it, put out there, walk away, and go on with the rest of my day. You know, I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily have that luxury because we've been brainwashed or very heavily influenced into thinking like we need to be pumping out content. Like you said, yeah, earlier you said like, yeah, we need to have 2 albums in the tuck, if not like 6. And it's just like, you know, at the end of the day, like, do artists, do creatives even have a chance to like retire? Like, you look at YouTubers, some of them have to take a break because of their mental, because of their schedule output and all that. And it's like, do we even have the leeway to retire? You know, like when do we decide that we just want to like live for ourselves, not just simply for the content? Like, I guess that's a big question.
But the thing is, once you build up your following or your amass whatever you want, your goals. Once you reach your goals, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. It's like and all of that, like music. If you have stuff on YouTube, all of that is residual, not necessarily residual income, but it's income that's
Monetized.
always ongoing, right? So it's you don't necessarily have to clock in, be like, all right, today I have to do this or else I'm not gonna get paid. No, it's already there, it's just a matter of like promo or stuff like that. But if you're known already, then people are already looking for you. Right?
Do people even retire at this point? Like, what does retirement look like at this day and age?
If I don't, I mean,
What are you talking about?
I'm not. You mean what type of people? You mean like artists, or you mean like regular
No,
people?
I'm talking about in general. Like, what does retirement even look like?
They chilling at the country club. Like,
Because I feel like for our generation, it's
they got
different
property.
from like.
Sam, it's so interesting. This is going to be a little divergent, but Sam, it's so interesting. You said like artists versus regular people. I think we're moving into an age of like clarity where like people start seeing these people just because they're highly visible doesn't make them
Yeah.
like any less regular than you or me. It's like I feel like just seeing artists as regular people is so important. Like I feel like even the term artist is like these people are business people more than they are like artists, I guess.
Honestly, I feel like when you become established in your career, it's like it kind of shifts. Like you have to start thinking as a
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
Definitely.
but that's what I'm saying. Like as an artist, you're a business, right? So you
Yeah.
retire when you choose to retire. When you feel like
Yeah. When you feel like you got in what you want out of
whenever
it.
he wants to retire, or he could never retire at all. Like it's up to you, right? And even once you retire, you're still making money off of what you already did, right? So, I mean, and that's yeah, I don't know if that answers the question that you posed, but
I mean, it does. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think you'll have a clearer picture of like what you'll be able to do when you get there. I don't think you're there yet enough to be able to know exactly like how much freedom that you actually have. You know what I mean?
That's also true. I mean, America, you just work until you die, basically. And it's kind of that's.
I'm sorry. I keep interjecting.
No, that's fine. No,
but you don't got to do a job like you don't want to do. Like I feel like you should, if you're passionate about something, you should turn that into a career. Like
right.
But if you love this, then you just like I think you just got to find a way like around the things that annoy you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely would love him. A manager would be so nice right now. I don't have to worry about a lot besides getting the music done.
That's crazy. I'm Ya's manager.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's. I kind of figured. I was like something about you, because they were talking about guest analysts, and I'm like, nah, it has to be related to the team in some way.
That's cool. We can talk later, and I just want to kind of see more about where your head's at. I'm the manager. I'm the general manager for most people on the team.
Yep.
So,
Alexander.
What's up, Alex?
Papa. you can talk. You can talk.
I think he's frozen right now.
Are you frozen?
All right, there we go.
This is such an interesting episode.
Yeah, like honestly, I wouldn't like I've talked to Zion and Sam about like signing.
No, maybe.
Oh my bad. Can you hear yourself? Continue. Go.
No, I was saying, yeah, I've talked to Zion and Sam about signing to Nostalgia Noir, because I think you guys are a great label, and I think the fact that you not only allow your artists to like own their content, but to also like you give them leeway to do whatever. I think that is what I think you guys are basically the representation of what a label should be. In a perfect world, like I'm not even like capping, I think it's just a lot easier. Like
appreciate that.
A lot of this stuff, like you said, Sam, and everyone else, like it's relationships, but it's like it's also credibility and like I guess credibility and reputation. Like who is this person? If you go down the street and someone asks about you, like what word are they gonna say behind, like in a general sense, like outside of closed doors, but also in private quarters. Like, you want to make sure that you're just clean all around. And I think you guys represent that very well in the sense of like, I don't have to worry about the business stuff at all. Well, not really at all. More like I can only worry about like 20 to 30%, and I know I'm fine. I can just focus on actually being an artist, So I really appreciate that for sure.
But Alex, how's your day going? How's your day going?
My day is great. I feel really kind of bad because I'm like, I'm kind of rolling in a little late, but it's because my system had to update, man, and good, so now I'm here. What's popping, everybody?
It's good.
So with you.
Yeah, I seen Daniel in here. What's good, Daniel?
What's
How
up,
you
Alex?
feeling, man?
Here's the
This is the
introduction.
first time that we're seeing each other face to
Guys,
face.
Daniel is a real one because he really called me out the blue. Like, and I
Oh, you
was looking
did?
at his number, right? And I looked at this
You
number,
like,
I was
who's
like,
this? Like,
it's like, who is this? And I was like, it was just so funny because he's a really cool guy, and it was a nice little exchange. But he was about to get blocked. It was about to be swift because my line is private, and yeah, it was funny though. But I'm happy to be here, y'all. What's good with you, y'all?
You know,
See, I gotta make sure I always give praise to y'all because this man be on his grind, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
For real, when's the album gonna drop?
what was that song?
Like when you said you're in album mode right now, so I'm waiting to hear snippets. I'm waiting to see the snippets on Instagram.
Who?
you talking about Alexander? You talking about Alexander? Yeah. Which
For y'all?
Oh, for y'all?
My album comes out February 5th.
February 5th. Gang.
Yeah,
That's tough.
yeah.
That new wine was released today, featuring Lex Lucy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get your worship vibes on, guys.
Those vocal runs.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of wholesome vibes, we need to record our song. You know, fuck that, I need a drink.
Okay, we do. But
We need the beat first.
the beat, we need a beat.
Yeah.
You got a beat. Maybe Young Jello could help with that. We'll see. I need to send y'all a video actually. But
wholesome vibes.
yeah. But anyway, while we're here, I wanted to have Masongo break down his song. This is gonna be like a lyric talk, you know, my own little version of genius. But so
Damn, real quick. Since this is my first time on the chat, is this gonna be a video recording or is it gonna be audio? I know it's on Spotify, so it's gonna be audio, right?
So I haven't put out. I mean, the goal is to do like audio and video. I'll probably like add the video later on, but like the first whatever episodes have been audio. So yeah, but this will be out, both of them. But so yeah, you took this track, Filler Arc. Like I know this was like a standout track on your EP. So you said, "Don't dub me Harriet, toss it up Virgil, numbers lying to you, Merle's been fruitful. Eulogy as a filler, classified as a nigger, word to B.O.B., I don't need a sticker, auction my skills, big pun taking L's with lightless, Earl if he." So what does that mean to you? Like,
All right, dang, that's very heavy. Okay, the first two bars. Don't dumb me Harriet, toss it up Virgil. So dang, wow, I really should have written down all this stuff. Anyway, it pretty much goes into the idea of we were supposed to get the Harriet Tubman $20 bill, right? I think that was a thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. So that's what that line meant. But then also like thinking back to the way Virgil only donated like what, I think $50 to I don't know if it was $50 or the fact that I think it was during the protest and how he was criticized.
It was like 50 or 100 or something like that.
Yeah, he only donated $100, and then basically, he was pissed off at the whole protest because they were vandalizing. I think they vandalized one of his stores or something, or his store, and at first, I didn't agree with that, but then I thought about it, and I was like, going back to what you said, Daniel, about people wanting to make money, companies like needing to make money and stuff. I was like, actually, I don't blame him, but I'm just saying, like, don't try to like finesse me, because I'm always gonna keep it 100 with you, or like I'm gonna come out 100. So that's pretty much what that means. And then the other line, numbers lying to you, murals been fruitful. So that line pretty much came from, I don't know if you guys have all heard the song Murals, right, by Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah,
I think I've heard it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's from his album Tetsuo Youth. So with that song, every time I've heard that song is so like I would go as far as to say that's probably one of the best rap songs ever created. Simply off the pure literal meaning of rap, off the pure literal meaning of art. Like that's an exquisite masterpiece. Because every time I listen, I can't even catch the first 10 bars that I probably haven't even like decided to dissect because it's so dense. Yet with Lupe, it's so smooth and like when you think about it, people always say like, "Oh, real hip hop" or whatever they want to call independent music. That's not necessarily mainstream because the numbers are so low, or you're not getting as much money that like there's no that we're down bad. But it's like we're not even down bad at all. So that's pretty much what I'm saying because these numbers that are could be legitimate to somebody could all be a lie because at the end of the day, like the numbers don't matter when it's their impact that really sells you and promotes you in the sense of like in the sense about how people regard you as an artist, as a man, as a person, even like before, during your life here on earth and then after you pass away. Um Numbers, line to you, murals being fruitful, eulogy as a filler, classified as a nigger. So with that line, I pretty much went into because the song is called Filler Arc because I'm really into anime, obviously, and like I think a lot of people think filler arcs are terrible in the sense because they don't really contribute to the grander story or they're just like distraction. But that's exactly what this EP is. This EP is just a filler because it's not exactly the actual it's not the actual it's not the actual season yet, the official show. It's more of a preview in a sense. So like I'm starting off with a track that's not even the intro, but it's just like, it's just straight in your face bars. Like you notice even like when I'm rapping on like what the third second mark. I'm rapping like very early before the track even sets in. And that's pretty much who I am as an artist, as a person who's been recording music. Like, because I told you my cadence is different. So, it gives you that feeling of like, of something special about to happen. Um, Eulogy as a filler. I guess that also means like, I don't know. I guess if I died tomorrow, this pretty much might be my magnum opus, my eulogy, whatever. It's pretty much my life, kind of in a sense, boxed into this project. But it's also like if you think about April Showers, if you regard April Showers as canon, and you listen to that and then listen to Garden of Gethsemane is basically a filler project, if you really think about it that way. Classified as a nigger, that's self-explanatory. Like obviously, I'm more like as a black person, I'm just going to be seen as a nigger majority of the world. Eulogy as a filler, classified as a nigger. Word to B.O.B. I don't even need a sticker. And it goes back to that line because it goes back to the line where I end with nigger because if you hear the song Good Nigger Sticker by B.O.B., there's a lot that's in that song, but it also made me realize like I don't need to tap dance, shuck and jive. I don't have to be a mainstream good person, black person, whatever to fit. I don't need to fit your standards as a black person because me existing is already enough. So I don't need your stupid gold star stickers to feel satisfied by myself, to feel good about myself anymore. Because it's like that's not who I am. And that's not the essence of my being because I feel like we get so addicted to these accolades where we feel like, oh, like we need this person to validate us. It's just like, no, you need to validate yourself first and foremost. That's it because you're born alone, die alone. And then auction up my skills, big pun taking L's with light list. So obviously going back to the other lines, it's like, okay, industry, pretty much slavery. So I'm like, all right, my skills are basically my barter tool, my currency to getting you as a consumer to listen to me, to actually work with me and such. Because that is the only thing that will tell you about myself before I even introduce myself to you. And in the sense of like, I'm selling myself. So I'm saying big pun, taking L's with light lisp. So like, obviously I'm kind of chunky, or I'm kind of chubby a little bit, a little thick. I kind of think of myself as like one of the greats. So I had to pick a name, big pun.
Were you like a big pun fan growing up?
No, I rarely listen to Big Pun. I just liked it because of like the way it fit the line mostly. But I haven't really listened to him. I've listened to his son though.
Mm-hmm.
So through his son, I've like kind of like I like how Big Pun has been regarded in terms of his legacy. I do need to listen though, for sure. But it was more of like a physical thing. It also that L line goes back to Big L. So like Big Pun taking L's with light list. So it's like I would see myself as like, if I had to compare myself, like maybe a combination of Pun and Big L, but with a lisp. But also like, because of my lisp, it's like I'm not necessarily like regarded as a perfect rapper MC. And it's a lot like Drake, Cole, whatever. Like I don't fit the rapper archetype. That's why I say taking L's with like Earl Sweatshirt if he had Twitter on the island. So I'm pretty much a rap genius. I'm a genius, like I rap really well and I have a lot to say. And I'm not mincing my words, but it still fits the typical rap lexicon, but it's just because I have social media within my access all the time. I'm just sucked into the fact that what do you call it? That I'm consuming this content without even trying to put that time into myself. So like, when Earl came back from Samoa, like he was a completely different person. Like, even though looking back, I think he actually needed that more or less. He actually needed that, to be honest, because like he wouldn't have grown to the person he is today. And like seeing his interview with him and his mom, Cheryl Hines, it made me really realize, like, I don't think it was Earl. I think it was, I don't know. I don't want to say Tyler was a bad influence, but I'm also like, he needed to leave like the excess of LA, California, America to kind of go back to some sort of foundation to find himself and to regain who he is before the world told him who he was. And that's kind of what I'm doing with this project. But because I have social media, like I can't necessarily, like we said, Daniel, like I can't step back into myself and be fully human and just enjoy my human experience. Did you want to get into the other bars? I know it's very deep. I never really think about the meanings when I write these things, but
no, it's deep, honestly.
No, I've heard that before though, where a lot of the way that artists write is like, there's a quote, I'm trying to remember the quote. They're trying to remember things they didn't know that they forgot.
yeah, and I think that's what I'm doing. Actually, it's even funny because now I just thought about like, because I lived in Kenya for a year from 2008 to 2009. So I pretty much have that experience I relate to that experience with Earl in the sense of like I was gone for like a little bit because my parents wanted me to connect to my culture and stuff. Because I was the typical American kid, like the American black kid. Like I wanted shoes, I wanted the best shoes, like
Yeah.
wanted to fit in, like get all the nice clothes and stuff like that. I was very much a typical consumer. But then after going home after going to my ancestral origins and stuff, it's like I changed. My change was like so profound, and like now, I'm comfortable with the stuff I wear, even though it's like 2 or 3 years old. Um, I'm more mindful of the stuff that I have that I take for granted, and like I think that's how I am with like rapping now. It's like I don't want to take things for granted.
Mhm.
I want to show. I want to give people a sense of like purpose with this, not just to feed your ego or to simply give you a sense of like fun or happiness in terms of dopamine, but I want to actually affect every aspect of your life. Like you can play me at any situation, regardless of your feelings, and it helps you. So that's pretty much what I'm doing.
That's
Um,
real though. That's real. I can definitely respect that. You're trying to give like a sound that's below the surface.
yeah,
That's real. More vibrational than sensational.
right. What were the other
That's
lines
real.
again?
Hmm?
What were the other lines? If you want to read them.
I think you had Masongo, Agora, the Corona, Jonah, bypass Nineveh, surrender to the Lord, cross your puzzle to Jesus, the prophecy been
No,
fulfilled.
there was some bars before
Oh,
that.
before that?
If my FBI agent hears this, I hope that they replay
Yeah.
this.
If my FBI agent hears this, I hope that they'll replay this. You can't kill characters that weren't meant to be written. Goaded, get them fasting, fast footprint, goaded. I've heard you say goaded a lot, so
Like that FBI line.
yeah, definitely.
All right, I'm gonna go to lyrics myself. Hold on. Um. Oh yeah. So the next lines are praise fly God that itched my suicide, assassinate character, born a daily Keith almost died. Um praise fly God. I was giving props to West Side Gun because I actually just started listening to him like last year. But he's been such a huge influence on how I want to move in terms of like my artistry, in terms of my independence, and simply he's just a powerful force. So I'm like, I mean, he calls himself the Fly God, so I was just like, praise Fly God. You feel me? Like, I ditched my suicide. Um, that just goes back to like my mental health in terms of like how it was for like the past decade. Like, I deal with depression and stuff, and like I expressed like wanting to kill myself and such, but somehow I found the will to live. Like I didn't have some sort of like huge come to Jesus moment, but it was just like I just kept existing. So I just didn't feel I felt like I didn't have a purpose. Like I was super insecure about myself. But
That's real, yeah, definitely.
this entire project, as you'll come to realize, like it's a huge way of me saying like I'm not the same person that you knew from whatever point in time you first met me. Like especially in the last decade, I've completely like changed. And assassinate character that goes back to that. Like I'm assassinating it's like kill Jay-Z. So like killing my ego. Like I'm killing that sense of myself where I was like super into like validation, accolades, blah blah blah. Like I'm killing that version of myself. Born the day Lakeith almost died, and like if you remember on Instagram when Lakeith was actually like he had a video on his Instagram where he was almost like trying to kill himself. Like he was basically expressing suicidal thoughts, and like he was about to like kill himself and stuff. People weren't. I don't know if people knew he was serious. I thought he was serious, but I'm also like, Lakeith is the kind of person that will keep playing his characters or characters within a character, even when he's
Talking about
not.
Lakeith, the actor.
Yeah, Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah,
So like he's very good at acting, in which like he may never stop being in character. So like since that time, since that day, I kind of like thought about it, and I was just like, whoa, like the fact that he was about to kill himself, man, like, and he's been such a force, you know, like I definitely want to, even within my short time, even if my catalog is not as big as someone else's, I want my catalog to be impactful in the sense of like, you know, people can see like, whoa, this guy is really was really on to some things, and like his ideas actually could heal people. So in that sense, going on, my FBI agent, I hope that they replay this, kind of goes back into if you've watched Death Note, especially the American Netflix version, Lakeith plays L, in which he's a detective, a world-renowned detective, and has to work with the FBI to catch this guy named Light, a high school student who basically has a notebook of that can kill people, that basically can destroy lives, thousands of lives. It's a great anime. Suggest you check it out. Very complex. So, and you know the whole idea about you know how like when you on your cameras, like on your phone and stuff, like people are probably watching, the FBI people are probably watching and stuff, the government. Mm-hmm. So it's like if they're watching me like record, or if they're watching me do whatever, I hope that they actually hear what I'm saying, because they can't kill me like Martin Luther King or anyone else, you know, that they've targeted, in which they've had like a huge impact on the human race. It's just like you can't kill me because I wasn't meant to be here. I was 1 pound 7 ounces, 23 weeks. So you can imagine, like, I didn't have any oxygen. Like, I was in the incubator for like 4 months. I was very premature. So I wasn't actually meant to be here, but I'm here, you know. So, you know, I'm just living my my miraculous existence. So
Masongo,
yeah.
do you have any are there any other reasons they might want to take you out? Do you have any conspiracy theories or anything that might not be safe to share?
No, I'm just black. So someone may want to just kill me, you know. But other than that, I'm like, I don't think
would that not be any more true? I'm just black. Yeah, you're literally a walking crime.
Just a Negro. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, like
why are we forgetting this is life?
Right. Like, I mean, regardless of whatever I or someone else believes, it's like the fact that I am what I am, it's like someone's gonna probably want to kill me out there regardless. But again, it goes back to the title. It goes back to the entire project, because this wasn't meant to come out. I wasn't meant to be here, but I'm here. So I'm like, I'm canon in God's story, you know, like I'm not just a filler. I'm not a filler, you know, I'm not a filler character. And the thing with filler characters is like they get killed off, you never hear from them again. So that's what that other line means.
It's the facts for me.
You can't kill characters that weren't meant to be written. And that goes back to like people who are also struggling with like mental health and stuff, and like they feel like they're not supposed to be here, that they don't have a purpose. Like, you have a purpose. You can't kill people that are just now finding their purpose, that are just now realizing what they're here for. Goaded, yeah, I'm fast and blasphemous. So that's me saying I'm already great, but I'm fasting from the blasphemous. So like the Illuminati, the devil, the industry, like all that stuff that can contribute to destroying me. And you know, obviously, like in my culture, we eat goat as food. So I'm just like, but I don't like eating goat too much, because it's like it's very it's a lot of carbs and stuff. So I'm like, I don't want to eat too much of that and feel like that I'm just getting fatter, you know? So I'm just trying not to eat. I'm trying to eat more vegetables, as we were saying earlier. Goaded, baffle how fast triple entendres went. So that line pretty much means like, if you go back to it, I'm goaded, I'm already great, but then, you know, the idea of having the idea of rap and what it used to be is not the same. Like, no one's spitting triple, quadruple entendres anymore. No one's going the extra mile to put a third verse in. No one's going the extra mile to have a posse cipher verse. Like, Playboi Carti runs rap. If you really think about it, MF Doom is the father of Playboi Carti, because Playboi Carti pretty much is what the evolution of MF Doom is. And that's actually something I came up with, because I realized, like, yo, this man's changing hip hop. I don't care what people say. Like, I may not even be a huge fan, but I'm like, Playboi Carti is changing hip hop before our very eyes. So in that sense, it's like, I thought about him the most, because it's like, he doesn't say anything. I can barely understand what he's saying, but it's like, even his ad libs, I just hear entire ad libs for the entire track. And it's like, that's okay. Because it's still gonna bump. It still probably has a lot of meaning to him. But the lexicon of rap as what we used to know from 1979 is no more. Like, that's pretty much, I don't want to say it's becoming extinct, but it's not as accessible as it once was, because what's pushed to our faces now is baby voice, turn up lyrics. You gotta sell yourself to be somebody.
You get into baby voice, define baby voice.
Like, like something like that. I don't know.
I feel attacked.
And it's fine if people use it. I have nothing against it. I just find it funny how it's like someone like Playboi Carti, people are like, oh my God, like he's killing hip hop, and it's like, he's not, because he's basically the evolution.
It's a different form of hip hop, yeah.
He's evolving. Hip hop is evolving with him.
And I feel like the same way that we have like many different breeds of animals, I feel like we have many different breeds now of rap and hip hop and R&B, where it's kind of like, it really is a very large spectrum of sound, and it consists of really like the tonality of it all. Like, there's this rapper that I cannot think of. She's a female. I'm pretty sure her name is Rico Nasty.
Yeah, Rico Nasty. Yeah, from the DMV.
And Rico Nasty is like, you know, when you hear her, you're like, okay, this is a female rapper, but she's giving you very much like obnoxious
grunge,
schoolgirl.
Like, yeah.
And that itself is a whole nother element of rap that she is approaching so dominantly, to the point where now, even as much as you may not even want to like credit her, you can't help but hear her and be like, that's Rico Nasty, because it's so distinctive to her. So I can definitely agree with that, because I feel like music, it just keeps evolving and it keeps getting more finite, to the point where we may end up walking into new genres in the next few years, like completely different types of sounds. Like, I know this is not something that I probably should mention, but neo gospel is a thing.
It is.
Yeah. Neo gospel is a thing. Neo soul is a thing. Neo R&B, neo synth, neo classical. Like, there's so many different breeds now of music, and to hear it, it's just like, whoa, like what is this? You know, it's like Erykah Badu came onto the scene, and now we have like, there's like 12 distinctive artists I can think of who are almost just like her.
SZA
is one.
Jhené Aiko.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like Jhené Aiko, Summer Walker, SZA, and her, I feel like those are all just like branches from Rihanna, or like one of those other tier artists that kind of like started that type of energy. I feel like all of those are just like spectrums now of that one person. But that's just me. I'm just a fan.
And like, if you think about what was that song on Blonde?
Pink and White.
Pink and White.
No, solo reprise, when Andre was like, was I working just way too hard? Like, if you look at the last few bars where he's just like looking at the state of hip hop now, that was in 2016. That was 5 years ago. Looking at the state, it feels very fresh, because I don't know why it feels fresh, but it's just like him looking at hip hop and the way it was when he was on the scene, from when he, even before he became a rapper, to like now. It's just kind of baffling, because it's like, you know, was he working way too hard to impress us? Was he working way too hard as an Outkast member? As much as Twitter and Instagram or whatever doesn't want to give him his props, so like they don't want to give the group, they give the group their props, but individually they don't give each person their due. Like, was he working way too hard to blow up outside of our lexicon of human understanding in terms of how you perceive music and pop culture, you know? So it's just, for me, it's like I'm baffled at the fact that, like, you know, no one's really doing that. No one's really rapping like YBN Cordae. No one's really rapping like Logic or no, actually, no, well, Logic is technically within the J. Cole aspect because he came up within the blog era. But I guess for my generation, it's like what, YBN Cordae, JID, Bishop Nehru. Like, you look at some of those people, no one's really rapping like that anymore. That's not really the perceived style. Like, you see, like, even Bishop Nehru had to kind of change up his style to fit the timeline. Joy Badass as well. So, but the thing about Joy Badass and like Pro Era, like, they more so retained their original sense of what they came in the game to do, rather than just completely switch up. You know, like odd, like kind of like Odd Future. Like, when they disbanded, it was a completely different shift. But both of those things could still be true because it's like both of those things worked out, and it showed that you don't need to, there's not one simple way to do this. That's what that line means. I feel like I'm on Genius, and it's like, Jesus, I wish this was on Genius that I can actually.
Hey, speaking into existence.
Nah, but see, they get money from that though. So I'm like, do I want to give my money to Do I want to give money to Genius by posting my lyrics? Probably in the future, but right now I'm like, I'd rather people dissect it for themselves, for real. And then Mine Too tax, add money spent on rent, Freedom Top by Lupe, Curb, and JPEG. So Mine Too tax, that's how my mind is all the time. Like, it's taxed from like stress, it's taxed from just existing, just like having to worry about things. And I'm doing 10 different things, and I'm just trying to rap, you know, I'm trying to just enjoy myself, you know. I can't just like simply, like, there's moments where I'm in bed and I'm streaming something and I'm just like in the moment. That's when I really feel extremely relaxed. And that's really rare for me. Like, you know, because I'm usually like busy, mentally stressing about something. So obviously the money that honestly, like, they say, what's that term? Oh, rent free in your head. So the money I'd use for thinking about myself to promote myself in my mind, like, you know, giving myself affirmations and stuff, that's been spent on rent, in terms of like other things like Twitter, in terms of certain people that I need to, like, you know, that I probably need to hit up or like see and just be like, just show my face. Or I have to impress, like, college, all this other stuff. Like, nothing is focused on me because I'm too busy stressing about other stuff. And I'm too busy stressing about like the lines I'm writing and stuff too. So Freedom Top by Lupe, Curb, and JPEG, it goes back to like JPEG Mafia and like Lupe Fiasco. They really helped me like realize that, you know, there's freedom within music, there's freedom within this shit. You don't have to be in the industry. You don't have to subscribe to people's ideas about yourself, and you can just exist. Like, you look at the careers of Lupe and like JPEG, and you like, you know, there's been failed ideas. There's been concepts that never were fully mentally realized. Like, their careers are pretty much the perfect representation of being human within the spotlight, and not just being manufactured with someone like Drake, where it's like, oh, you know, it doesn't even affect him, but it's like he's not even viewed as human. So they made me realize, like, there's freedom in music. You know, you can do whatever you want. Like, no one's above you in this thing besides Jesus, besides God, besides Jesus, God, whatever you believe in. Like, no human is above you. I also said Curb, as in a friend of mine, a rapper guy I listen to named Curbside Jones. He's from Texas. His music is really good, but like, he also is doing this independently, and he's like, he made me realize, like, you know, I don't have to necessarily subscribe to someone else's opinions or rules or views of me, because at the end of the day, it's me, myself, and I. Like, I'm gonna die, you know. Like, I don't want to have to feel like regret because I didn't live for myself. So, are you guys enjoying this so far? I know it's a lot.
Yeah, it's been dope.
Okay. All right. So Masongo Agora, the Corona Jonah bypassed Nineveh, surrendered to the Lord, crossed the puzzle of Jesus, the prophecy been fulfilled. It's time my next step to spread my gospel. Blues new clue. Hold a wait, this you tweets not loading now, how points are misconstrued. So I took this from a written that I did for Flying Lotus and Denzel Curry's Black Balloon Challenge last year. So straight from that, what I'm pretty much saying is like, my name is Masongo Ogora. The Corona Jonah, I'm quarantining, like quarantine is making me feel like I'm inside the belly of a whale, you know, and I bypassed Nineveh. So Nineveh is like a representation. If you've read about the story of Jonah, Nineveh is a representation of like of negativity of the industry in this aspect, to surrender to God, obviously, to like let him know like, yo, like it's just me and you, like he's my boss at the end of the day, I mean, that's all I really know as a human. It's just like all this other stuff about like, what I have to do, what I have to say. It's just like, no one controls that besides myself. So why not subscribe my problems to a deity? Cross your puzzles of Jesus, the prophecy been fulfilled. So that's pretty much marking how much of a wordsmith I am in terms of like, I mean, I will bar you up. I'll bar anybody up because I'm that, like, this is just me just talking my shit. Like, like, I will definitely give you a run for your money. Like, and I think that's the great thing about people not really, seeing me as a prophecy fulfilled, seeing me as a golden child of like hip hop, whatever. Because I don't look the part. I don't look like the archetype. I think it's good because it's like when people really see like, oh, like he actually raps, and then they hear the EP, they're like, oh, whoa, like what? He's really spitting. Like it's that moment that like makes me feel good, but also it's just like, and I told you so, because it's just like I'm just that nice with my words. Your time my next step to spread my gospel. Obviously, your media page, you as a person, talking to your friends and stuff, like you guys are gonna like spread the word about me, regard in any way, shape, or form. Like because I'm that good. Like my stuff, I consider it gospel in the sense of like I'm building my catalog, and it's timeless. It's gonna be classic. Blues new clue, hold up, wait, this you. So like how on now on social media, especially on Twitter, like we people try to pull this cancel culture accountability card by trying to expose you, and it's basically a new clue. It's basically a way like how in Blue's Clues when Blue finds a clue or whatever, and it's just like Twitter's obviously blue and white. But it also just goes into the way like how people are just like lurking to on your downfall, in the sense of like they are gonna try to use some sort of a clue or some sort of a hint of something that you're potentially involved in, or not even involved in, to try to expose you for no reason. Tweets not loading now, how points are misconstrued ties into that, because um people are obviously wrong or caught in a bold-faced lie. They're going to delete their tweets. Obviously, they're not going to stand by their word. Like just like in hip hop, going back to like the earlier bars, um, word to B.O.B. I don't need a sticker. Like people aren't going to stand by their principles in this game. People are going to try to like change themselves just to appease the people. Not going to be 10 toes down the ground. So for me, it's like I'm authentically about what I say. As a person and as a rapper, um and like it just shows how communication like isn't super misconstrued, because people don't even try to like actually, if to go larger, people don't try to actually like search up the meaning of things. They don't try to actually ask or like figure things out for themselves, which is why I don't want to do the whole rap genius thing, because people should be able to, like you're in college, You should be able to actually think about what I'm saying, because I'm not writing this and thinking about what I'm saying. Because I'm like, I don't even like. If you ask me again tomorrow, I probably wouldn't be able to really tell you, because I may have forgotten, or I may have not cared about it to actually provide meaning to it. But it's like I don't really think about the meanings at all. I'm literally making this up as I go. I'm literally like providing explanation as I go. And it's like you can only imagine how dense this is, and this is only like what, like slightly more than 32 bars, which is like incredible in itself. It's only like a 1 to 2 minute song. But that just goes to like show how nice I am. Like I put so much into that 1 or 2 minutes that you have to play it again to be like really catch everything I'm saying. But yeah, how points are misconstrued is just, it's like the deeper meaning is just like how we fuck up communication because you're not direct in rap. And like with rap, it's like, for me, it's like I'm trying to be more direct with you, since this is coming directly from me and not just some industry head that's like, oh, this is good, put it out, because I'm putting this on Bandcamp. But Devil Couldn't Kill Me at point blank range, like you got me with the comedy, leave these niggas a page. Devil Couldn't Kill Me at point blank range. That just goes back to like my I was 1 pound 7 ounces, 23 weeks. So like obviously I was set up to die. I wasn't supposed to like live, but even the devil couldn't like kill me. So it's like, if like it's like Voldemort. Like Voldemort's a loser. Like you couldn't even kill your target at point blank period. At point blank, like you basically a scrub, bro. Like, and it's just like he's just useless. Like Yagami with the Kami leaving this niggas a page. It goes back. Light Yagami goes back to the Lakeith Stanfield line, which goes back to Death Note, because Light Yagami had a Shinigami. So Shinigami is technically kind of like a god in a sense, in which like they are. I can't necessarily describe the literal meaning, but it's more they kind of like decide as to how you pass on, I guess, or something like that. But it goes back to anime lore. So if you are curious, look that up yourself and watch Death Note. But basically, the last few lines are just basically like me just saying like even if I die tomorrow, like my stuff is still gonna stand the test of time, and I want people to like celebrate me when I'm gone, pretty much. But this entire track is just a warm up for what's to come, because like at the end of the day, none of this stuff matters, but it does matter. So it's like existentialism, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Problem.
It's been fun having you on, bro. This has been a good introduction to who Masongo is and learning about you, your stories behind your music. So thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Anybody else have anything to say? All right, so
not necessarily. I was really enjoying this.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't talk too much. I know I've been talking a lot. Like I wasn't even expecting this to go like for 2 hours or whatever. So
well, Masongo, you're a very introspective and intellectual individual.
Yeah.
People should be prepared for your detailed level of communication. So continue to be you unapologetically. Because quite frankly, I am very intellectually stimulated at this time.
I appreciate that. Daniel, you have anything to say?
All right.
I don't have. Nah,
my bad. Oh, go.
I was about to say you talked him into the 7th heaven. He's in a whole nother realm. He's elevated. He's not even here.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. Masongo, I can't wait to talk to you more. We get off the chat.
Sure.
I can tell that you kind of need a bit more structure so that you can focus on the things that you want to focus on, and you're definitely talented as a rapper, so we got to work together.
Definitely.
For sure. Yeah, I'll hit you up just now. Yeah.
What time are you free to talk tomorrow?
I'm free whenever. Just hit me up.
Okay. I will.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, nothing. So definitely a collaboration brewing. Definitely a partnership. Love to see it. It's been real. I'm Sam, also known as Sam the Seuss.
I'm Masongo Gora, known as Masongo Gora.
This is Alexander Mantis, and it's been real.
And this is Daniel Adegbsean. See you later, guys.
This has been the Creators Club. See you guys later.